Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people, right? You want people to care. You want to strike emotions, and I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter
too.
pounder with cheese in France, Mickey. What? Boy, ale with cheese, Mickey. Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, and welcome to the one, the only Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave.
And I'm John.
JD, is there another?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I thought you were like staking your claim or something. That someone was threatening our turf, and I was gonna have to like start snapping my fingers and getting ready to fight.
Actually, when we first started, there was a podcast very similar. It wasn't Superhero Speak. It might have been Superhero Talk, but it was like like when we had started, the show had only been around for like a year before us, and then they disappeared. So.
Well, that's part of our plan, is to just outlast everybody. When we tell people how long we've been around, they're like, oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
What is it, 9 years, 8 years now? 9 years?
9 years, 9.5 years, John.
9.5 years. Right. Most podcasts don't last more than a year, if that.
It's true. I've been a part of some.
Yes, you have.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of that, you might have some more news about being on podcasts.
I got a lot of news.
I was about to say, so you were not here last week.
I was not
due to
here last week.
scheduling issues. How are you doing, JD? What's new?
Great.
What's old?
Great. I launched a Kickstarter this week. I had the worst first day of a Kickstarter I've ever run. And then, so I had the master Russell Nolte sit down with me and go, okay, let's work on this, and this. And I had to proctor the PSAT test today or this week at school, which means I did nothing. So I had all day to work on it. So we got it. We corrected it. It's going much better now. Still a little under, but it's good. Apparently, this is a really bad month for Kickstarters. There's a lot going. There's a lot running, and numbers are all down. There's a lot of financial stuff going around, but I'm still running. We're still good.
People have started their Christmas shopping.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna lay out till the spring for that. But I got my first hardcover book. Came in the mail. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. I love it more than anything except for Andrew. And it looks absolutely sensational. My first hardcover book that I've ever had. I'm super proud of it. It looks just beautiful.
I'm glad you said you loved it more than anything except for your son. But what about your wife?
She understands.
Oh, okay.
Lucky man there. Lucky man.
No, I'm kidding, of course. Yeah, some are good. The Kickstarter's going okay. Please back it. Got lots of stuff. John, this is going to be a good one. This is the best ever.
You're insinuating that you were slacking the last 4 times, I think?
No. This one's just special.
Oh, okay.
They've been good, but this one is just like extra good. Like, not only are you not the villain, but a major, but you are the linchpin in the story, not just a side character. This time I've done right by John Oak. And the name just works really well for the character.
Awesome.
So I'm extra proud of this one. I can't wait till you read this epic death scene that you have. I'm super.
Don't oversell it.
Are we talking like the Mask death scene?
Like
man.
Like Rocky Dennis? That's a dated ass joke right there. Let me tell you. This is a good one. This is a good one. And then I guested last night. I co-hosted the return of the Gorilla Brain podcast with our good friend 8-Bit Ray. We said he messaged me, goes, "Hey, I know you're pushing your Kickstarter. Do you want to come on and talk Stephen King?" And I said, "Well, yeah, let's do that." So we talked about The Shining and Doctor Sleep for 2 hours last night, and it was awesome. It was a really good show. I'm not sure when he drops it actually, so stay tuned to socials and make sure to listen to the Gorilla Brain podcast, part of the Geek All Stars Network and all that jazz.
Geek World All Stars Network. Yes.
I can never get that right. Geek World All Stars Network and all that stuff. And it was really good stuff. Ray, it was fun to be on Ray's show. He wants to come back. and he had a suggestion for a movie, and I forgot what it was.
Oh no.
Son of a bitch. So I stand by. I have to remember because I was like, yeah. Oh no. Oh wait. No. It was crap. Move on. I'll remember.
Alrighty.
Okay then. How about you, John?
What? Like
Anything new since last week?
Nah. just nah. I did fund this great Kickstarter though.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a hardcover edition.
And to be killed?
And to be
shirt. He's getting a shirt this time.
I love getting slaughtered. That's
There's
all.
a shirt this time?
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
There's a shirt this time. I have a shirt available. And people say you should not do Kickstarter t-shirts because it messes up your margins. Unless your classroom has a t-shirt making press. Unless you can do silk screening inside your classroom. And you have a $40,000 impact printer, with which you can make bookmarks, which is now part of our stretch goal. Once we hit 300 or $200 more, we will hit every copy will get a bookmark.
And you have classes of kids that you can use as slave labor to make said t-shirts.
Correct. They get an A.
Okay, number one.
Oh man.
Genius,
Thank
but
you.
evil.
Yes.
But still genius.
Yes. Right. Correct on all counts.
What is the t-shirt? Is
It's
it
a Hawk Hollow t-shirt, just like the logo.
Oh, okay.
I'm not good enough yet to make them fancy. Perhaps if, a couple Kickstarters down the line, we can get fancy t-shirts. I'm still new at all this.
You know, I don't understand. Like they give you the advice not to do t-shirts. I understand how short the margin can be on it, but people love t-shirts.
I love this.
I mean,
God, yeah.
When I was running in road races, I would run a race just because of the t-shirt. Because it wasn't one of those silk screens where you put in the wash and it starts to crack and fall off and if it was like double layer cotton, I would do anything for a t-shirt. I would run a half marathon for a t-shirt.
I have a rule for the kids that I coach that go to wrestling college. They have to give me a t-shirt from their new program. And I haven't bought a t-shirt in years.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I would do. Every time my t-shirt starts to rat out, it's got, there's this 10K on Sunday and they've got this nice t-shirt.
When I was at New York Comic Con and they did the panel where they premiered the Super Mario Bros. Trailer, that one of the things was if you went back in line, you could get a t-shirt after the panel, and like everyone that was in that room got in that line. You could not move. The line was so long just to get a t-shirt that said Super Mario Brothers on it. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Everyone wants a free t-shirt. So,
well, yeah.
So yeah, that's.
Oh, how are you, Dave?
Oh, I'm all right. I'm still recovering from the convention.
Did you get the COVID from the convention?
No, I did not get the COVID from the convention. Why?
Oh, people get COVID at conventions. I was just asking.
I haven't even heard one story of someone getting COVID at the convention.
Well, I'm starting a rumor.
Well, then.
Let's not do that. That's not good. We want to try to move away from the panic of the
no concred, no concred, no gook, no stuffy nose.
I'll say that I was
anus.
They have said there's anecdotal evidence right now that they're following up on that there's one or two variants of the flu and maybe even a variant of the cold that are literally gone, are extinct now because of
COVID?
Because of COVID, because of all the social distancing.
It makes sense.
I can
see that. I can see. I
and
definitely
the hand
can see
washing
that.
and like everything. It's like
yeah. I definitely could see that. But no, I was tired this week. Definitely out of it on Monday. A little under the weather. But yeah, I mean, typical con crud stuff. Nothing major, just like, ugh. Yes, those who don't go to conventions don't know the joy of con crud. But we went back to New York this weekend, yesterday, because my girlfriend's one son did a, what do they call it, campus tour or whatever, for New York University. So how they do it at NYU is, depending on your major, they have different days. And that was the day for the art majors. So we went up and did the, I hung out with them. They did the tour and whatnot. It was interesting. But then we did something I've never done before. We went to Madame Tussauds. So
I've been there.
What I did not know is that they serve alcohol in there. They have 2 bars.
And New York Comic Con in general, or just at Madame Tussauds?
just to Madame Tussauds.
Oh.
And
Never been to the one there. I've been to the one in Las Vegas.
okay. Yeah, because how it works is like you go up an elevator to the top floor and you're at a quote unquote party, and you're intermixed with the wax figures of the celebrities, and then there's an actual bar up there where you can get drinks, and then you walk down the steps to different scenes and stuff. And they have a whole Marvel one set up now. So
I hear the Mark Zuckerberg one looks more lifelike than the real thing.
That is.
I did not see a Mark Zuckerberg.
That might be in Las Vegas.
You want to just make a joke, but I get it because that guy does not look human.
Well, well, that was the thing. They had gone last year, her and her son. So like they kept mentioning like they swapped out a bunch of them. So they must change them all the time, depending on who's hot, who's not. I'm sure there's some that are staples, and there's probably some that are like, or let's say like they had an Ezra Miller one, and it's like, yeah, let's not display that one anymore. Let's put someone else in his place.
So when I was a kid, we drove from Chicago to Washington D.C. for a family vacation. I think I was 14 or 15. Not 14. I was 14. 15. This is how I know the year. So we're driving, and on the way we stopped in Canton, Ohio, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And this was after the murder, before the trial of O.J. Simpson.
Oh, jeez.
And his bust was still up, but it was very clear that the light bulb had burnt out and nobody had changed it. Nobody had cleaned it, and it looked so eerie. And that was the day before. And the day after, someone stole it. I don't know if you guys remember that. Someone stole the O.J. Simpson bus. It was we were there that same weekend because my mom was like, "Let me see your bags." I'm like, "I'm standing with you. You think I could have gotten away with that thing? Well, give me a break. I wish I had." But yeah, so I kind of get it.
Yeah. No, and then I will say this: like all those things, obviously they nickel and dime you, and they have a 4D Marvel short movie that you can watch, but you have to pay extra for it. However, they didn't check our tickets before we went in to the movie, so it was like, well, maybe we didn't have to pay for it. But anyway,
whoopsies.
It was so stupid, and it basically is like a 10-minute commercial for Madame Tussauds starring the Marvel characters. It's an animated thing, and it's 4D, which means, like there's a scene where they cast a spell and bubbles come out, so bubbles actually come out of the ceiling. And then there's a scene where there's a creature that roars at you, and they spray you with water, so you feel like you're getting spit on by a giant monster.
That is definitely not sanitary.
And then when Thor uses his lightning, they have strobe lights going off around you. So, that's, and then the seats vibrate. So I don't get the point of 4D stuff.
Me neither.
I know. Yeah. Somewhere thought, oh, this is a good idea. And I don't know. It's stupid.
Constantine. That's the movie Ray wants us to. Keanu Reeves.
Constantine?
Could do it.
I believe it's Constantine. Right? They call him
the original pronunciation was Constantine, but then American. So then America.
To be fair, like, the Emperor. I don't believe anyone referred to the Emperor as Constantine. I believe he's always been Constantine, but I don't know. What do I know?
Again, America. Not learning Latin.
Oh.
Whoa! I took 4 years of Latin in high school, sir.
Oh.
That's all I got. I don't remember much of
it. I'm not quad, non-intelligent.
I got like 3% of that.
You guys gonna have a Latin off?
I mean, like
Dave. Altissima quaeque flumina minima sono labi.
That would change 4D. We could do that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I didn't understand any of that. My daughter also took Latin in college, but I don't know if she would understand any of it. So
I cannot speak it fluently, but I just know enough to
screw with people.
Yes, which is all you need in life.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, that was my weekend. And speaking of screwing with people, let's do a little social media minutes. Oh,
hey, let's get this out of the way because we got good stuff to get to today.
Hold on. Before we get to social media minutes.
No, not.
It's over now, JD. Did you watch any of She-Hulk?
The pilot. And then my wife, because I knew this was going to come up. So my wife, who has watched the whole show, supplied me with the information. She fed me the information to let me know.
Oh.
So I can talk about it like I know what I'm talking about. Well, I didn't see it.
Spousal crypt notes. Okay.
So what you're saying is that
notes. I like that phrase.
So what you're saying is you're cheating, but yet you're letting the audience know you're letting the audience in on your cheating.
Yes.
Again, part of why we're so good with reviews is because we don't all have the same likes and dislikes, and once in a while one of us can't just watch something because it's just not that we're, it's not for us, and that's okay.
I thought the ending was very creative and just brilliant, and I don't see there's not a better way to end it, but yet they can't recreate that next season. Like, it was a one and done ending,
Yeah.
I think, like, to go back to that would be like, come on. So, I mean, she literally breaks the fourth wall.
All right, what'd your wife write on your arm, JD?
Do the dishes after the show.
No, I'm talking about
toilet. Oh, I did that before the show. No, so she informed me. She kind of let me know what was going on at the end with Kevin, and
that was
they were
brilliant.
just kind of they were trying. She calls them out on kind of rebooting out of ripping off the super soldier serum. Finish.
Which,
so I found that amusing. I don't know. It might be a little too meta for me, but so was the comic. So I mean, it fits.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing, is like, that's what the comics were. So yeah, it works. It's just, and that Kevin was a robot.
That was unexpected.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I love that. That was just like, but it makes sense, right? Like, the argument about things being formulaic and, so you're going to have the hero fight a copy of themselves at the end, which is what they almost did at the end of this season. And it was like, and she's like, you like, but of course a robot is successful and can keep spitting the same thing out, like.
It would have been too meta for me, except that Tatiana is just so freaking adorbs. And when she was going after Kevin for, like, the formulaic stuff and what's with all the daddy issues and hey, where are the X-Men? And you're like, oh my God, you're just reading the comments.
Yes.
It's just the comments section. This is awesome. Because I mean, like, at least they're aware of the issues. Whether or not they address them is an entirely different thing. But
true.
But at least they know, hey, these are your issues, dude. It's been 12 years now. Maybe you should start doing something different, because we are getting tired of the hero always fights somebody with the same powers as him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and that's.
Is it better to shine a light on your problems, or is it better to kind of just work on them and move forward?
Well, as long as they're not doing that thing where they shine a light on their problems, and therefore they can't be problems because we shined a light on them. We acknowledge them, and therefore they are not problems. No, they are problems. You have to do something. It's like a lot of TV shows or movies will do that meta thing where they acknowledge a problem, like, in a horror movie, it's like, hey, we shouldn't go into the dark room, but then they go in the dark room, and it's like,
well, like Scream, that was the whole point of Scream, right? Like,
right.
It was meta. It was pointing out the formulaic nature of horror movies, and it created all new tropes that were repeated.
Yeah, but it also fell subject to those same tropes and eventually became what it made fun of.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They also created new tropes that they became subject to in their own series. So it's like, tropes are going to always exist, right? Because, like, people,
right. But the thing is, like, the problem being that, if you see them too much, it starts to detract from everything. If you watch Everything Wrong With, CinemaSins, it's like almost every time it's like, the come here and take a look at this cliche, or the I'm eating an apple to make me look like an asshole. It's like these things that are in every single movie, and you get tired of it because it's just stupid.
I'm going to agree, but then I'm going to point out a time that Marvel tried to subvert expectations and change things around, and people call it one of the worst Marvel movies, and that's Iron Man 3.
I disagree with that immensely. I don't think they changed up.
Yeah, they didn't really.
No, they subverted. Like, the Mandarin really wasn't the Mandarin. Like, that's
but then he was another. That's the thing, though. He was another rich guy with a company who wasn't as good as Tony Stark, building another version of Tony Stark.
And doing a super soldier serum.
Killian, right?
Yeah, Killian, whatever. The extremist guy, like, it was the same. That was I think it would have subverted Marvel movie if we would have had we were advertised Tony Stark versus Osama bin Laden, and we just got Iron Man redo.
Well, it would have been
been better if they'd expected
that would have been good, or if it had been really the 10 ring, if it had been really, what's his name, right? The 10 ring guy.
Yeah, I was saying, oh yeah, if it had been actual Mandarin, but
the Mandarin, right?
They did not market the Mandarin as that. They marketed him as basically Osama bin Laden.
Yeah,
that
but
was
if
gonna
it
be their version of it. But yeah, if they had done the actual Mandarin, that'd have been good too. But they didn't.
Yeah, because then you're going against the Maklaron. You're going the Maklaron rings versus Tony Stark's tech. I mean, magic for that would have been interesting to see. Like, that's a death battle type of thing. Weapons, armor, and skills.
True.
You don't know who's going to come out on top because they're different weapons, armors, and skills, right?
Yeah, I get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do think it's when they do things that people don't expect, people crap on them.
Well,
But then
that's
again, when
their
they keep-
problem. But the thing is, by the same token, those people that are crapping on that are the same ones going, well, this is boring because it's the same thing.
No, I don't know if it's the same people. Actually, I think it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like if you do
Yeah.
the same thing, X amount of the population are a bitch. If you don't do anything, then X amount of the population are going to bitch. Like they've reached a point they're so big they can do nothing right.
True.
But then if you do something different, you're guaranteed to get new people in your audience.
No, I don't
And
think
if you lose a few, you're not going to lose as many as you keep. And if you keep like adding to what your formula is, you'll wind up with a much bigger audience at the end than you will just by doing the same thing over and over again.
No, it's the opposite. I think that is what we've seen here. I think that the more they don't do a lot of new things because people say they want new and different, but Dave's right. When people do new and different, you complain, right? So that's why you do some variation upon the formula. They do need to stop to mix up the formula, but I don't think that's to gain new viewers. Because let's be honest, was anybody who's watching She-Hulk completely a Marvel virgin coming in? I don't think so.
No, I don't think it could be either.
Right.
Again.
Yeah, nor should you be. Again, I've been saying for a couple years now, this is how these things are designed. They're not in trying to win fans at this point. They're retaining fans.
Yeah.
Right. They're trying to keep people from moving on to the next thing.
There is no next thing. DC is
They're
making
trying.
sure of that.
Well, I mean, that's true. But there's people that are trying. Like, I mean, they're competing with like Stranger Things and, House of the Dragon and, stuff like that. That's their competition.
Exactly. No, and that's the point. Yeah. And John said that too, right? In the sense, like they're trying to retain fans by not deviating too much from the formula, but then something new like the Rings of Power comes along and it takes away from the Marvel because it's new, but you're right. Like it's a tightrope to walk between keeping fans and trying to get new, because you're right. Can they get new fans at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, they can.
From who? Like, who doesn't know what the Marvels at this point? All you
Well,
can
yeah,
do is
but
win new
kids
people.
growing up, like this thing's been around so long, you're getting a whole new generation coming up
And
now
they're-
that's gonna,
But
Yeah, but
they're already being inundated with Spider-Man and his amazing friends, right?
And there's
They're
a barrier
already
to
watching
entry.
Cartoons, yeah.
that's at this point there is a barrier to entry.
There is. We've reached, and I was wondering this myself. I wonder when we're going to reach the point where the barrier of entry is too steep. Are we going to reach the point where the Marvel Cinematic Universe fans are going to become as bad as comic book, where they will not accept change, right? Because we've been dealing with the same group of Gen Xers for the last, 35, 40 years in comics who kind of keep comics, complain whenever there's anything new or different going on. And they're the ones that go to the shops. So they're the ones that create this. Like I'm coming to think that long continuity is not a positive. I'm starting to think that it is actually a deterrent for winning new fans. And eventually they are going to have to redo the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
yeah, but you got to remember that the barrier to entry here is starting
Big.
with no, yeah, it's a lot of time, but the starting point is Iron Man, and that's
It is.
good enough to hook a lot of people.
It is. But at the same time, we're getting people like Iron Man is now 15 years old, right? So you're getting, or 14 years old, maybe 15 coming up. Like
Damn.
you're starting to get people like, that's an old movie. Like there's kids that will walk around and think that something from 2008 is quote unquote old.
Except that it still looks good compared to today.
It does. But I mean, like we're also looking at it as the eyes of middle-aged men. Like kids look at things differently,
Uh-huh.
right? They're looking for the next cool thing. And maybe it will stay as Marvel, but now they're in a fight to keep people on. And I just watched Werewolf by Night today. I wonder if we've gone, part of me wonders if we've gone too far.
So
Okay, let's
okay,
not talk about that yet.
Yeah.
but to JD's point, the Star Wars, the original Star Wars movies, right? To us, they look amazing, especially compared to other stuff from that time. Like it's all practical effects, but like it looks really good. It's convincing that you're watching an outer space battle.
Yeah.
I worked at a place and there was a younger guy there who had never seen, it was not a fan of any Star Wars, because he was at that age where he was too young to have seen the original movies and too old to have wanted to watch the prequels when they came out. So
he was born in what, the late 80s then, or something like that?
Something like that. So like when I asked him like, oh, well, did you ever watch the original movies? Like, well, I tried to once, but they just look so bad, and it's true. To him, it looks really bad because he's looking at stuff that's.
But if you compare it to Laser Blast and Battle Beyond the Stars, it's,
but no one knows
freaking awesome. I know.
What that is.
I know.
I think it's Shea Serrano was the film critic that said there's no good movie made before the year 2000.
What?
I believe it was Shea Serrano, the film critic, when he's just talking about how movies from the previous century don't hold up and that they're hard to watch. And I disagree, but I do think there's an audience that believes that has a hard time, especially like, there's an audience that has a hard time. Like, we like going back, and I'm raising my kid to go back and watch old movies, right? But you have to be raised like that, right? There's a lot of people that look at something old, and to them, old is by definition. And this is how our culture kind of educates: is that anything old is bad until it becomes nostalgic, in which case it becomes good.
Yes, and I do think, and it's funny too, because I think our generation, especially because they do things to appeal to us, right? Like.
Tons.
Marvel is a nostalgia thing to appeal to us and to bring in new fans, but it's done in a way where it does honor the original comics, But I can remember my father saying at one point there was no good music recorded after 1965, like the complete opposite mentality.
That's a Simpsons line, right? Everyone knows rock and roll attained perfection in 1974. It's a scientific fact.
Right.
That's the golden age of science fiction is 12.
Add this to your calculations. There is a whole contingent on YouTube of reaction videos by people that are probably anywhere from, I'd say, 20 to 35. That reaction videos for stuff like The Fly, The Thing, Alien, was it Jaws?
I will argue.
And they are like, they go back and they watch those things and they're like, oh my God, this is so good. And they want to watch more. And
but you have to have a growth mindset. And there's a lot of people who don't have growth mindsets. We talk about this a lot in sports, is this desire to, this ability to train your brain to want to learn and to constantly grow. And there's people that apply that just naturally have this mindset where they're willing to go back and look at stuff. But there are people who perhaps don't hold pop culture in high regard, who automatically assume anything that's before them is bad.
Yeah.
And I agree. There are tons of things, because I'm a true believer that the late 70s to the early 90s is like the pinnacle of genre cinema. Again, I'm biased because that's when I grew up.
Right.
So, I mean, in my mind, that is like the stuff, but and our culture is really pushing nostalgia toward that stuff right now. And my brain is in that cultural zeitgeist. I firmly believe that. But I know a lot of people that won't go back and watch old movies. They think they're trash.
I mean, there are reaction videos for Blazing Saddles and Airplane, and it's like,
that's different.
I know, but it, they watch those.
That's the other thing too. It's like, I also think you have to realize, think about when you were a kid in the 80s and your parents wanted to watch a movie from the 50s, and you were like, this stinks.
I never had that. My mom was a big film buff. I was going to say film snob, but she never quite made it to the snob level. So when we grew up, like, I think I've told the story on the show before, that I would sit there and stare at the horror video section in the movie store, too scared to walk in. And my mom's like, all right, if you want to watch this, we're going to start from the beginning. So she made us watch Bela Lugosi, Dracula, Boris Karloff, Frankenstein. And then I was going and getting these books, and I was into it. And then we would watch the Marx Brothers. Like, again, we were raised that old movies are great. Like, it was like, that has to be something I think that is imparted onto you. Otherwise, you might not find it yourself. Because I remember taking film study courses in college, and there are people in my classes that are like, oh, we have to watch these old movies. We're watching like Citizen Kane and like Blow Up and stuff, like like legitimate classics and Truffaut. And I get it's not for everybody, but it wasn't. People were mad because we weren't watching Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I think you have to be. I think you have to kind of have that growth mindset, or be raised to experience art from a previous generation.
You also have to people, and I think it's getting less and less. You have to have an appreciation to understand, like, the stuff that came before made what we're watching now possible.
all art, this is my favorite quote, all art is either a rejection to or an embracement of whatever came before.
Yeah. I mean, that covers everything, but yes.
I mean, it does. It really does. And once you understand that, I mean, once you really adopt that model, you start really getting that, okay, this is this way because of this.
Right.
It's either like your punk rock. Punk rock exists because they hated what was going on with like prog rock and stuff like that. So it's a complete rejection to prog rock. Prog rock exists because they thought that what was being done in the 50s and 60s was just too damn simplistic.
Yes.
And stupid. So they were trying to elevate the genre. So saying those things, all art, it's like, it's Dadaism, right? Dadaism is realism is terrible, right? It's all, and pop art is no, man, Dadaism is wrong. Like soup cans are beautiful. Like that's how art goes. And it's so, once you figure that out, it gives you a new appreciation because you can look at stuff with a different eye.
Yeah.
So I think
the only thing
way off of the She-Hulk.
All right. So the only I will say one last thing about the She-Hulk finale.
Oh yeah, this was She-Hulk. Forgot.
Okay,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I liked how they did it.
Because that was 3 years ago. Too.
Kevin, her breaking the fourth wall and coming into our quote unquote reality, and then Kevin being a robot. All funny, great stuff. And at the end, they throw a twist at us. They introduce a character I never thought they would introduce in the MCU. Scar.
Yeah.
I was so thrown off by that, and I'm like, where are they going with this? So
yeah, I was shocked is not a word I was really prepared to use. Surprised. And Michelle was telling me that, I'm like, is he his son from Sakaar? She said, yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. We're still embracing Planet Hulk, which is surprising, and how much of an impact that limited series really has left on the Thor and now Hulk and Thor, properties. Like I'm very, very surprised on what like stuck. It's like the late 2000s have become this kind of like, what would come after Bronze? Like Iron Age? I don't even know.
I guess.
What comes after Bronze? What came after Copper? I have no clue.
I think like, Bronze is, I think Iron in.
Yeah, there's Iron in Bronze. I'm not sure what comes after Bronze. Someone, if there's an anthropologist listening to the show right now, please tweet us at Superhero Speak.
Well, the Iron Age did come after the Bronze Age, though.
Did it come out? So we are the Iron Age, which actually kind of fits because it's the age that started with Iron Man. So I'm going to steer into that skid now.
Okay. We are in the Iron Age.
I'm going to embrace it.
It was the Age of Heroes, I think, that come after that. And after the Bronze Age, and then the Iron Age. And I think, and that's it, because it's all based on Greek mythology. So.
Yeah, it all fits. So we sure call this the Age of Heroes. That works too.
But we're in the age of information. So the decline of man.
Anyway, you were saying
I have no idea.
The early 2000s had
like
such an impact.
The late 2000s, because you had your civil, like look at what's dominating a lot of this stuff. Like we're still doing Civil War, right?
Mm-hmm.
That has an impact. Well, now we're doing Secret Invasion. We're still doing Planet Hulk. Like this is all stuff that was big, at the same time as when Iron Man came out, right?
Yep.
Like, this was stuff that came out around that same exact moment. So it's weird to me that we're there. And DC can't not let go of the crisis.
No.
I forgot to look at the show notes. Did we put in the new deal DC is doing?
No, I did not see that, but you can talk about that when we get there. All right. So let's real quick do some social media madness.
I gotta go.
What?
Kidding. Sort of.
Let's start off with Kassan tweeted at us. He said, criticism of She-Hulk as a neckbeard reaction, clever, even if it is cowardly. Still 7.5 out of 10. Oh, sorry. Also, just wrapped She-Hulk. I'll elevate the ranking to a 7.5 out of 10. The last 2 episodes focused the plot of the season nicely. I like the Kevin bit. Also, I can appreciate how Disney used the intelligentsia group to stamp all. Oh, to stamp all criticism. Now I realized I read it backwards. To stamp all
Dude, you got to let me read these. These are like...
As a neckbeard reaction. Okay. Yeah, no. So Kassan liked it as well, which doesn't surprise me. And then Brandon Brandy Savage of Cult 45 said, hey, I'll do you guys one better. For episode 8 of She-Hulk, a person of color was publicly humiliated, got upset, and then the police took them to jail.
What? Really?
Well, that was the episode before the finale where Intelligentsia revealed a bunch of information and showed a bunch of stuff during the award ceremony, and she raged out.
She didn't really destroy any. I mean, she destroyed a couple of TVs and then ran through a wall. boom, that was it. And then they arrested her.
Well,
Like
but I mean, yes, but she did rage out. Like that's the whole point. So, but she's green, so she is a person of color.
Oh.
So that is a great observation, Randy. Yes.
I never would have made that connection.
So that's some comments on She-Hulk. Keep us a little more focused. And then, oh, my mouse isn't working. Werewolf by Night, which we will be talking about in a minute. But Kassan also tweeted about this. Come on. John's emphatic recommendation of Werewolf by Night convinced me to watch it last night. It was good. The cinematography was excellent. The overall movie suffered from some inconsistencies. With that said, a solid 7.5 out of a 10. So, Kassan, you're just giving everything a 7.5.
That's fine. I don't know what inconsistencies he's talking about. I normally keep good track of those, but like, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about it after. Okay,
I can skip the next one because we already talked about JD being on the other show. And then we talked last week about the rumors at the time that Henry Cavill has returned as Superman in Black Adam, and to which, let me scroll down here. Random Randy Savage said, "Sure, I would actually like to see this Superman written by someone competent."
Please, yes.
He also said, "He's not the issue, it's that Miller boy, a domestic terrorist that needs to be let go and bring my boy Grant to the big screen." And then Inder10, who's at Inder_1017, said, "Yeah, it got leaked. So I will say this. I have seen the leaked footage. He is definitely in Black Adam." So
I think Dwayne Johnson definitely wants some time with Henry Cavill on the screen. And what The Rock wants, The Rock gets, if you smell what I'm cooking.
It's definitely like a quick thing. It's definitely an after credit scene. You can tell it was done like last minute on a soundstage somewhere, but you know, whatever.
Where everything's
exactly. So, but yeah, and
we have green screens in my classroom, for God's sake.
So you missed this last week, JD, but like one of the main things is, you know, he shows up and the music is the John Williams Superman score.
I will believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
and I will see it this week because I'm actually very excited to watch this movie, Black Adam being one of my favorite DC characters.
So yeah, I mean, and I kind of feel like they did that, and I think that's a signal, in my opinion, of we're going to keep Henry Cavill as Superman, but we're going to separate ourselves from the Snyderverse, and here's some John Williams to prove that.
I think that's fine. I think that's smart, and I think if this is true, this is a leak from Warner, because I don't know if people realize that a lot of these quote unquote leaks are done to get messages into the media, to, you know,
or to trial balloon things.
Things. John is correct. Like, I think this is Warner trying to do things right. I think they realize you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, and there are things about the Snyderverse that work. Man of Steel is not one of those things. But the dude who was the Man of Steel is, you know, there's nothing wrong with Henry Cavill. I think you hear him talk about Superman, I think that guy gets the character.
Yeah.
And you can, as an actor, you can only transcend your material so much.
Right. I mean, that whole script is a mess. We've talked about that.
Shit.
Yeah. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's all over the place. Like,
it doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah. And there's no coherent storyline through the whole thing. It's just.
And it got worse. That was the highlight of Henry Cavill playing Superman, was Man of Steel.
That's
everything
the worst part. It gets worse. Oh my
Superman
God.
versus Superman v Batman, you know, which I believe was a case saw by the Supreme Court in the year of our Lord 26, was worse. It was terrible.
Oh my God, it is that. I'm going to go on record and say that's possibly the worst superhero movie ever made.
Yeah, it's worse. I remember seeing the Whedon Justice League. I'm like, better than Batman vs Superman. That's honestly what I came out and said. It's fine. I mean, it's not
Meteor
great,
Man was better than that.
Whoa! Meteor Man is Robert Townsend, and it is actually entertaining.
Right, exactly. Meteor Man is better.
Ill of Meteor Man.
I would rather watch Batman and Robin than Batman v Superman.
You know what, Dave? I hate Batman and Robin with the white hot passion of 1,000 suns, and you're right.
A supercomputer calculating to the heat depth of the universe could not give you the number of fucks I do not give about that movie.
We're not talking about Superman 3. We're talking about Batman and Robin. Batman v Superman.
Yep.
which I believe was the next season of Law and Order.
Oh my God. Well, that's it for Social Media Madness. So on that note, here's our good friend D Squared to tell you how you can follow Superhero Speak and be a part of Social Media Madness.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of Social Media Madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often because we are posting some great comic reviews as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter at SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them at @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllStars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
All right. Thanks for that, Don. I'll say one more time until I know for sure it's gone, or you can at least always watch the old episodes. Don't forget to check out the Omega Level Nerds podcast, available on YouTube and wherever podcasts are available. On that note, we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. So we don't have a lot of news to talk about because we have a couple other things. So I was going to, what's this Warner thing that I missed?
So actually, I was just sending Don a message because I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks. So give me 1 second. See how you're doing. That made me think about it. So
I haven't talked to him since he.
Yeah, just checking
quit.
in. You know, you gotta you gotta check in with your friends when there might be stuff going on. So hey, just reaching out, bro. DC announced that they will be doing a new program with their digital comics, their DC Infinite Universe app.
That's right. We were supposed to talk about this last week, and I thought,
wasn't there. I didn't push it.
Yes,
So,
they're adding a new level where you can get the comics a month after they come out, as opposed to 6 months, which is what the Illuminates had always done.
right, for $100, you get the whole catalog 1 month after it's released. And I don't know, man. I did DC Infinite. The problem with the older books is you have to be like in a mood, right? Like you got to be in a mood to go back and look at older books. So if I wasn't in the mood to go back and look at older books, I found that I wasn't using it. I'm curious because I do want to go back and start following stuff again, but the barrier of entry is high. But if I have access to the entire line, I don't know. Maybe I'm willing to jump into that. I'm really waiting back. Has it officially launched yet? I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember what the launch date was. It was coming up. I think it was October is when they were launching it. So the thing is, it's like, it made me think they've had the weirdest rollout. Like the initial app was a curated catalog. Like
the
original DC app, it was like, oh, it's not everything. It's a curated collection.
Just like HBO Max was.
And then slowly they started adding everything. And now it's like, okay, you want to, where Marvel was like, it's been unlimited. It's been 6 months old since its launch. That's it. Like there's no games or anything. Like, and it's obviously working for them, I guess. Well, of course, the other thing that Marvel does, and I don't know if DC offers this, is their books have a code. Like if you buy the physical book, you can scan the code that's on the book and get the digital download.
Which is fucking stupid in my opinion. Because I'm like, if I bought the damn book, why am I getting the digital? Why do I want the digital?
Why do they do that?
I'm alone. This is me. I think it's stupid, but whatever.
Why do people buy the Blu-rays and DVDs that come out that have the digital download code?
Well, nobody buys them anymore.
Well, you're not buying.
I know quite a few people that still buy physical media.
Studies that say otherwise.
Speaking as somebody
anecdotal.
Right, but speaking as somebody who does that, I don't care that the digital code comes with it. I don't even bother because the last time I started setting all those up, the company that all the digital rights were given to went out of business, and you didn't even get notified until after the deadline for transferring all your stuff from one old service to the new service. So I lost everything anyway, but I still have the hard copies, and that's what I want.
Well, there's now two companies that do it, and one of them's Apple. So, and Apple's not going anywhere anytime soon. And the thing is, like, the people I know that do it, like, they buy the physical copy and they want it because of said reason of that other companies going into business, but they like the convenience of you just scan the barcode and it comes up on your app and you can just log in with your Roku and watch the movie.
And there are people that do that, but that's not the majority of people.
So, I mean, as a comic book collector, I like the idea of buying the book, scanning it, and then putting the comic in a bag and then reading the digital copy so my fingerprints don't get on the physical copy.
I mean, I get that. And there's, again, that's I wonder if that type of a collector is going to become a generational. I don't know if the Zoomers are going to feel the same way about physical media because they're not going to grow up with it. Physical media goes,
records came back, so
yeah, but they're not what they were. Records are now, they're like a, how do I put this? It's a snob thing, right? Like, oh, I listen to records because the music is more, and like it's become a high ticket, right? They're expensive and they're a collector's item in that people still listen to the record. Like, I don't know if people are buying the record and putting it away, and like you do with a comic book, right?
Yeah,
true.
Like but you're right. Records, vinyl is a thing again, which is mind blowing. But it's because I don't think 8-track is coming back. You know?
No, darn it!
So.
I've been waiting.
You want to get you still have stuff in your 74 Gremlin that you want to fire up?
Well, look, records are coming back because well, first off, it's a pretty cool thing to have these days because kids don't remember back in the day when you had like hundreds of them. But it's also for the fidelity. Whereas the reason why you're getting solid media now is because I don't want to pay $16 to $34 to quote unquote own Super Sons on Amazon, only have the rights pulled later because of what's going on with DC.
So here's my question though. Are people interested in the idea of ownership of these things anymore? Or is the idea of having an infinite library with which you can just pull things from when you want it and return it when you don't? Is that the mode of the future? Because again, these kids that I have nowadays, they don't get the concept of buying a movie, right? You just get it for, temporary. You watch it and you put it back.
Well,
you want it again, you stream it again. It's like, it's a different, the people younger than us have a different idea of media consumption. Like their thought processes into how to imbibe media is just different.
I totally agree with that because, and I know you guys aren't gamers, but
I'm kind of a gamer.
You can track that progression through video game companies. So like most video games, most big games when they come out, they'll have a pre-launch pre-order, where if you pre-order the game, you get bonuses with it, right?
Yep.
And it used to be like one of the only games I ever pre-ordered was online. And it came with like a physical map of the world. And
I still have that map. I ordered that too. Yeah.
A little pin and a couple little tchotchkes, like physical things.
And a metal box.
Right. Nowadays, and then and some of the I remember, what was it? There was a mech game that came out from Microsoft and it came with a giant statue of one of the mechs. That was a couple decades ago. Now you get a skin.
Yeah, in-game items.
You get all digital stuff when you pre-order, like stuff that you can also a lot of times later on buy. Some of it is exclusive, like you had to get the pre-order to get the skin of this character or whatever. But it's just like it's all digital tchotchkes. Like people don't care about those little physical things anymore, and the video games companies realize that, and it's cheaper.
It's not that people don't care about them. It's that the companies don't offer them anymore because it doesn't cost them anything to give you an extra skin and maybe a few extra gold pieces, which get you hooked enough that you have to buy them with physical money.
But I'm telling you, people don't care because if people cared, no one would pre-order games anymore, and people are still pre-ordering games because they want the digital tchotchkes. I have a kid who cares more about digital tchotchkes than physical things. I have a girlfriend who has kids who care more about digital tchotchkes anymore. But again, that's what I'm saying. The younger generation doesn't care about physical things
but
anymore.
Only because the companies aren't offering them, because the companies can make more of a margin off of giving you something for free, like a bunch of ones and zeros, instead of going out contracting somebody to make a die-cast metal figurine 10 inches high and sending them out.
But at the same time, they don't have the value on that kind of stuff. Like I said, I work with kids, right? Yeah. They care about what they care about is what they can get in here.
Yeah.
Right. That is their world.
He's
Like,
pointing
they
to his
don't-
phone, by the way.
Oh yeah, sorry. This is not a video show. Yeah, I was pointing to the phone. We're having a conversation via what is this? Zoom.
Zoom.
Zoom, yeah.
Yeah, no, so I get what you're saying, but I mean, like, for us, we grew up, and again, we're comic guys. Like, we grew up going to the comic shop, buying stuff. I like going to the video store. I used to love Suncoast Video and collecting these things, but I'm a tech junkie. I would rather have as a guy who sells books, as much as I love this, you know what I love more? I love when I sell digital books because I don't got to do nothing.
Exactly. You just proved my point.
No, I know, but that's the thing is like the consumer wants it. The consumer's like, oh, I can get this cheaper and I don't have to clutter. My wife has forbidden me from buying comics.
Well,
I don't want the clutter.
You say cheaper, but you notice that like books actually still continue to get more expensive after they went all digital on Kindle and everything.
Well, yeah,
and same thing with the comic books. Yeah.
The cost of printing isn't cheaper. Shit is expensive. This is like I'm not thrilled that I'm selling a hardcover book for $40, but I've got to make money at the same time.
Right.
Whereas
But
it's pure profit if I send them a $5 digital.
Right. And
exactly. The same thing happened with digital music. When you went from CDs to digital music, the prices never went down. They actually went up. And it wasn't because it didn't match. It matched the same as if they were printing physical media, but they just increased their profit.
I will say that, and it's one of the things that bugs me, like, because sometimes a movie comes out that I didn't see in the theater, and it comes its first run on digital, and I want to see the movie, and it really bothers me that it's to buy the movie is the same price as it is to go into the store and buy the physical disc, and I'm like, but it's costing you less to just put this on a server and let me access it.
But that is a way for them to make their partners happy who are in the physical media business, right?
Oh, I know, I get it, because if it was cheaper, everyone would just buy the digital.
Correct, but there are people that do like it, and that's the incentive to get, because there's these waves, right? There's these waves of consumers. You have your frontline consumers that are out there day one, ready to go to the movies or buy this stuff at the shops, and then you have your wave two, like, you guys buying stuff like you talk about, going to the store and buying things, and like trade waiters, right? And there's your wave three, the people that will sit there and are patient and are willing to spend less money that don't need to have it in a certain amount of time, right? And they're still kind of figuring out how to do this stuff as far as these streaming projects go. But I mean, it's the same mentality.
Yeah.
So for me, this this DC thing, if I want to read a bunch of comics, and I love reading comics, but it's an expensive hobby, right? But if I have to drop $100 once and I have access to the catalog for a year, and I get into something, that's pretty good. Whereas I could drop $100 over the course of probably 3 months at the shop. That $100 will go quick.
Let me put it to you this way: we're gonna like Battle of the Super Sons, right? You can order the movie for $19.99 to quote unquote own it on Prime Video, right? Or you can spend $27 for the 4K Blu-ray with digital code edition, meaning you can watch it in 4K or Blu-ray or watch it digitally for $27, and you don't have to worry about when DC implodes and they pull the rights for the movie from Amazon.
Yeah, but that's probably not good. I mean, like, I would rather just buy it on streaming and have it there. Like, I don't want physical media anymore. Like I said, I'm selling books because I like books. I have this emotional attachment to just reading a book and feeling a book. Like, it's one of the few things that I still have that for. But some people don't have that attention to anything, or don't have that. Like, they would rather have the access to. Maybe, yes, there's a good chance those rights do expire at some point. You're on Amazon, so probably not. They're probably safe for the majority of your life, but maybe not.
So you're saying people don't just want like digital stuff that doesn't take. So how many T-shirts are you going to sell?
I hope.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope a lot. But that's the thing, though. But that's why we do different levels of things, right? It's because you're attacking a different level of consumer. Like, if I'm going to attack someone who is into physical media, likes all the tchotchkes, likes all the stuff, I'm going to get them to spend more money. But at the same time, I got people that will buy my $5, I'll get every time. It's the same. I have the same people that come back and buy my $5 stuff. They like it. They're just not going to spend the big money. I'm that guy when it comes to Kickstarters. I very rarely back above a digital pledge level because that's all I want. I mean, I want something to read in digital where I can just have it on my iPad and do the media that way.
See, I always go for the physical media, but then again, I'm ancient, so
But it's again, you came up differently. Like I said, I'm younger than you. Like I'm an old Y, right? Like I'm old generation Y. Like I have I've got my foot in both worlds a little. You know, I get the desire to want the physical media, but I also love the convenience of streaming stuff. So I hang out in both worlds a little bit. Like I said, I get it from both aspects. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough being old.
Word.
All right.
So yeah, I'm kind of curious too. Like those who are listening, is that something that appeals to you? Would you pay the extra $100 to get the books a month? You know,
quick to the polls. Do a poll.
Yes, we'll do a poll on this. We will do a poll on this. All right.
I got it. Or did
I was over that. Thank you, John.
We will move. We'll move on now to across the aisle to Marvel with a little bit of bad news. Blade has lost the director, so they have now put the movie on hold.
Fired his ass
until they can find a new director. Yes.
Why did they fire him?
He turned in like an 88-page script, and they were like, "This is your movie."
88. That's it.
Yeah, that's what they said. Feige's like, "What are we doing here?" And apparently they read it and they were like, "What is this?" Like, apparently it was not good.
Did it involve a giant spider? Did he get it from Kevin Smith?
Oh my God!
It did him and John Peters actually.
John Peters,
yeah.
Did what he's told. No, apparently they just weren't happy with the work, and they said, "Well, we can." And I prefer that they back this up rather than try to force it out, because it's one thing I think Marvel does better than like DC or most of these places, when they set a target, but if it's not working, they'll go, all right, back to the lab.
Yes.
And I would prefer they do that, because I don't want them to drop the ball on this Blade movie. Like there's a lot of love as far as the film goes. I don't want them to screw this one up.
No, and I do think a lot of people are, like you said, they're waiting for this movie, right? Like the Wesley Snipes movies are cult classics. Like a lot of people have gone back and love those movies. Well, the first two. Sorry, Ryan.
Oh, he knows it.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't entirely Ryan, though. I mean, Wesley Snipes.
No, it was David fucking Goyer. Let's put the blame where it belongs.
True. But Wesley Snipes didn't help with being a drug addict during all of 3, and
they also said they also
catatonic the whole time.
They also put him in the movie to phase him out of the movie. If you were doing a movie because they were trying to phase you out, if you go to your job every day and they said you're only here till the end of the month where we can fire your ass, how much effort are you going to put in?
True, which comes back to Goyer, right? That's
David Goyer.
Yeah.
So of course, this has caused other ripples where now they have shifted their schedules for the other movies coming up. So Blade has moved to September 6th, 2024. Let's see if we don't know if that's going to hold true at this point, right? Because what if they don't find a director until 2024? I can't think of the actor's name. The guy playing Blade.
Ali.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Like years ago, he was told you're playing Blade, and you've been waiting all this time.
It's been 2 years. I mean, at the same time, I think you want it done right. Because I don't think he's against the decision. Because he hasn't come out and say this is bull. Marvel's screwing us. I don't want, because he hasn't walked from the project either.
True, he could walk.
He could walk. Wants this. I think he wants this to be done right.
Well, wasn't it? He came into the.
Yes, he says they said we want to work with you. He said I want to be Blade.
Right. Like he said, I want to be Blade. So that's, I don't think he's going to walk away from it.
No. So you're going to have to be a little patient. They hired the wrong guy. That happens sometimes,
Yeah.
I'd rather they fire a guy who they know right away didn't do a decent job and try to find the right guy than just, we'll fix it.
Deadpool 3 is now November 8th, 2024.
What was the original date on that?
It was in that video, damn it, that he released.
It was September, I thought, right?
Yeah, September.
2 months.
Yeah. Fantastic Four is
a better release date anyway.
Fantastic Four is no longer 2024. It is 2020, February 14th, 2025.
We don't even have cast for that. So
Secret Wars is moving back 6 months to May 1st, 2026. And the Kang Dynasty is May 2nd, 2025.
Well, if they get it right, then we'll be much happier than if they pull a DC.
Right.
I mean,
I am wondering though, because on the same note, since they announced 2 Avengers movies at the same time, are they doing a 2-parter?
Probably.
Yep.
Like they did with Endgame and
I would assume so.
Infinity War.
It'd be neat if this time they filmed them at the same time and just put them out like they did with the Back to the Future 2 and 3. Put them out one in the beginning and one in the end, right?
So that was because they put 2, because I remember this. They put Back to the Future 2 out in Christmas season.
Yeah.
They had like a late November release date. And then 3 came out in May. So it was like 6 months.
Yep.
So there was no mention of moving like the Marvels. I'm trying to think what else.
They're probably moving things around for their timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever happens in this is a big
Yeah,
has big
affects
impact
everything
on
else.
what goes,
Right. So I guess the Marvels is probably.
I mean, we did
related.
that with WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness, and worked out okay.
What's the other? There's a couple movies we're waiting for, right? Oh, Captain America,
New World Order.
New World Order.
New World Order.
Do you remember? So I also wanted to ask this, and we kind of talked about it a little bit already. With the pandemic and everything was like kind of streaming for a while, and now we're getting back to it. But Marvel still doesn't feel like they released 2 movies this year, or 3? No, 2. Doctor Strange and Thor, right? But does it feel like they had the same momentum they had around the time of Endgame? Like, it doesn't, right? Like,
No.
that feels like it's gone at this point.
Yeah, it does.
Is
I mean, like,
they'll have to build it up again.
they are having to build it up again, and I don't know if I'll tell you what, I teach, and I see kids that do like our t-shirts or like our video, our collages and stuff like that we do in the graphics classes, and a lot of them are Marvel centric. Like, these kids have grown up with these movies and they love them, so they have a good place in their hearts, but it's definitely not what it was. But how could it be?
Yeah, and I also kind of worry about, there's that mentality, like kids who were young growing up with the stuff, and then they start getting to a certain age, and it's like, oh, that's kid stuff. That I like that when I was younger, and I don't want to be. I want to be cool now.
Yeah, except I got high school kids, and they're like, they love this stuff, all of them. Like, it's not. I haven't seen. Like I said, from my experience, Marvel movies are just part of the culture.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. But I mean, like, we have that acceptance for these things that we've always wanted, right?
Yes. And it's weird that we're here.
It is, but at the same time, it's a good thing.
Isn't it strange, like, when you've lived through stuff, and we've lived through a lot of stuff in our lives, and now we're on the other side of things, and how different it is for the kids who grew up on this side.
Different.
Like when we were kids, you couldn't walk around and say, oh, I love Spider-Man. I love the Fantastic Four. Like, you would get laughed at.
When we were kids, we could go to the airport and wait right outside the gate for the people coming in. It's like, we've been through way different things.
But I'm just talking about culture. Let's not.
I know.
Let's not bring the audience down again, John.
I know.
That's usually your job, but not this week.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Back.
We're just looking at how much technology has changed everything.
Oh, from like the original Spider-Man movies where they had him like hold his hand up, and then they
threw a net.
They threw two gaffs through a net or something from behind the camera. It's like, oh my god.
And it's funny. I was just thinking about this too, because like I went to New York, like I said, yesterday with my girlfriend and her one son who's 17, and one of the things that Karen wanted to see, but we ended up not doing it, was the 9/11 memorial. So, okay, yes. So yeah, I'm bringing the audience down. And it's so weird to think like her son, her twins, my son, like they were born after that. Like they have no idea what the world was like before that, and it's so weird. Anyway, I'm just being old.
But we are old, so.
All right. Well, that is actually all the news I had this week, because we got some other goodies to talk about. Do we want to take a commercial break now, or do we want to talk about?
Let's do the commercial now.
Well, let's throw the commercial in now. We'll be right back with our main topic, I think.
Possible.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, we're back. I'll ask you guys, do you want to throw the interviews in now, or do you want to do the main topic?
Put them at the end.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, so our main topics are supposed to be twofold this week: Werewolf by Night and Sandman. So should we start with the one that everyone's actually seen?
Yes.
All right, Werewolf by Night. John, you were so emphatic last week. You yelled at our audience, go watch it now. It's the best thing Marvel has ever done, ever. That was what you said. So,
yes.
Do you still feel that way?
I've watched it 3 times. I love the hell out of this thing. If I could marry it and have kids with it, I would.
I'm a little disturbed by that imagery, but okay.
Well, we'll just leave it with Laura Donnelly then. But this thing.
I was about to say, Laura Donnelly is Elsa Bloodstone.
Yeah,
Gail Garcia Bennell is Jack Russell.
Yep.
Yeah, Eugene.
Laura Donnelly was also in the Nevers Amazon show, which was really good, actually.
Harriet Sampson Harris, who is what's her name, Verussa. I've been like, she's so familiar. I know I've seen
Frasier.
her.
She's Frasier's agent.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I knew it because we are a big Frasier family. And when the second she spoke, I texted my wife like, "Oh my God, it's BB."
BB, that's it. Oh my God. I was trying to place her the whole time I was watching it. Like, where do I know her from?
To answer your question, I love the hell out of this thing. Like I don't remember the last time. Well, okay, so it was probably Endgame is the last Marvel movie that had me like jumping up and down in my seat. Like, but in this case, it was just me hitting the button on my phone to have the announcer go fatality, brutality. It's like, I mean, you wouldn't think that Marvel put this out. I think, and I think the only reason like they were able to get away with what they did was because most of it was in black and white. And the reason why it was in black and white originally and the color at the end was for a whole nother reason. Like this thing was just done perfectly.
Okay. All right, John, we'll take you off its leg for a second.
JD's gonna hate it, right?
What was your initial reaction?
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay.
I really liked it. I'm not gonna lie. The end when they play Somewhere Over the Rainbow kind of lost me.
Really?
Thank you.
Lost me. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I thought it was dumb. Like I was
like there was
into
a weird message there that we were missing.
I was like, I'll be honest with you. I liked Act 1. I liked Act 2. Loved when Man Thing showed up. Didn't see it coming. I was like super into it. And then I did not like that they cut away from the transformation. I think that's cheap in a werewolf thing. It's like, okay, it's Marvel. I hold you to a higher degree.
That was done. I feel
I know
that
it was done on purpose. It was done on purpose. But even in the Wolfman, you had like an attempt to do a
and that's what. In all honesty, I thought that's what they were going to do, but no, they went for the pull away.
Cut away, and I just thought it was cheap.
Continue. That cutaway when they have her against the bars and you see the shadow. That was all one shot, no special effects.
I think it's cool. I just didn't like it. I don't know, man. That's my favorite part of werewolf movies. Like that's what made American Werewolf in London so cool was the transformation. Same in The Howling. Those transformations are great. The Wolfman has a really good transformation scene. I didn't like that.
And it's not like Marvel hasn't done transformation scenes the whole.
I know.
Thank you.
I know, and I just thought they could have. Because it was Marvel, I was expecting something.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the black and white. I love the Universal horror movie aesthetic. I liked the story. I thought the plot was good. When they cut back and showed the actual werewolf, I was severely disappointed.
I
thought he looked like Lion-O.
He did. I did love in the very beginning when they do a special event. It harkens back to the 80s like special presentation thing.
It reminded me of like ABC's Saturday or Sunday detective shows, like with the Columbo or Macmillan and Wife or something like that. And I thought that was cool.
Isn't that what Werewolf by Night looks like though? I mean, that's what
I don't know if he looks like that. Kinda. I mean, kinda, but it just, I don't know, like supposed to look better. Like, I mean, like I'm looking at Man Thing. Like you did a good job on Man Thing. It just, I was underwhelmed with the actual, I mean, like that really took me out of it. I was really disappointed when I saw the monster. I was like, oh, okay. Like, and then the end with Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm watching anymore. Like, again, it was an A right up until Act 3. And then it's a solid B for me, you know.
The Somewhere Over the Rainbow thing was because they brought color into it.
I get it.
And the color was there because you went from the black and white thinking of all of these hunters to her, John, who now has a colorful world.
John, I know how to read a film. Like I just didn't like it.
Okay, I will say this. I just looked it up. The original Werewolf by Night did kind of look like they made him look in the show, but in the modern things, he looks more like a wolf, like in the more modern books. Which is weird for Marvel because normally they try to like do more of the modern takes on the characters.
I just didn't think he looked good. Like again, like I understand what it did. It looked like Michael Landon's I Was a Teenage Werewolf. Like he didn't even look as good as Launch. No, that was Michael J. Fox.
No. I'm saying he looked like Teen Wolf.
I don't think he looked as good as Teen Wolf, to be honest with you. Having just seen Teen Wolf, I didn't like the practical effect on the monster makeup, and I just thought it was half-ass. Like, I know they were going for an aesthetic, but it just didn't land with
They're
me.
going for Lon Chaney werewolf, right?
It didn't look like Lon Chaney werewolf. It looked like Michael Landon's I Was a Teenage Werewolf. Like Lon Chaney's Wolfman looked more like a monster than this one did. Like it didn't work for me.
I'm gonna say something here.
I've broken John's heart. I'm
really surprised.
I'm gonna say something here too.
Totally gobsmacked.
There's something to me that's weird watching black and white in high def. I don't know why. It's just weird to me.
I was okay with it. I liked it. The Bloodstone was red. I thought that was cool. I did.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I get why they did it. I dug the whole feel of it. I love the feel.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a 50s horror movie. Like it's done on purpose. I like that. Like it's done well. The acting's great in it. But yeah, there are a couple little bumps that take you out of it for a second. And like one of them is, no, I liked the transformation, but when he turned around, I was expecting something different. I was expecting something more Marvel, something maybe CGI, but no, like they did practical makeup that isn't even as good as other werewolf movies that we've seen from the 50s.
I agree. I don't think it was as good as Lon Chaney Jr.
So it was just like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, that just took me out of it, you know? And then,
wow.
When my wife laughed at it, it hurt. Like, I was like, okay, I'm out, you know, because this didn't feel tongue in cheek to me. It felt like they were trying to do a loving homage to Universal horror, but not making fun of it.
Yeah.
Right. And I felt like when they revealed the monster, they were making fun of it. And I was like, oh, this didn't feel loving anymore. This felt like you're laughing at it.
When did this take place? Like, that's the other thing I don't get.
If you look at the dates on some of the tombs when they were in that one tomb, mausoleum or whatever, like some of them were in 1988, 1986. So this happened. This is in current time.
Yeah,
like 2025 Marvel time.
They showed the Avengers and they talked about what's going on on the upper ground. And this is what's going on.
Oh, that's right. They did say that at the beginning, but then like,
and this is going to affect Marvel. They said that this is canon in Marvel. This isn't.
But then I'm watching it and it's like, I don't get, like, none of the hunters have modern looking weapons.
They weren't allowed weapons. The weapons were they couldn't bring any of their own weapons in. Yeah.
But even like when they came in, it still felt like you want me to feel like we're watching something in the 50s. Like and I get that. I don't know. Just I guess it would have been jarring if they had cell phones, you know.
Wouldn't have bothered me, but I get the argument. Like I said, I just didn't. Ultimately, the monster didn't land with me. Like this whole thing had this vibe of like almost like a Del Toro type of deal where you love the monster, right? Like it's about how much you love these things. And when they showed me, like when you watch a Guillermo del Toro movie, a guy who clearly loves monsters, when you see his monsters, they're made with like love and care. Like they try to the Del Toro monster looks amazing when you look at it.
And how can you do Swamp Thing looking just like not Swamp Thing, Man Thing, looking just like Man Thing from the comics?
Yeah.
And
you guys are spoiled.
We are.
I am just like I didn't mind that. There were so many little touches in this. It's unbelievable. Like when he's in the cage with her and he's looking around. You see him look at the place where he's going to hide later on. He was looking for places where when he got out of the cage, he'd be able to hide in the shadows so he could attack them. Like just little stuff like that all throughout.
We're not saying it wasn't well written.
It wasn't good.
It was very well written.
I'm not saying, I don't think it was well written poorly at all. I think it felt to me like they were making fun of Universal monster movies when they showed me the monster. Like when Guillermo del Toro did The Shape of Water, you showed me his Creature from the Black Lagoon. I clearly can tell he loves Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, because he gave it a 10-inch dick or something.
Hey man, she was satisfied.
Oh my God, you guys.
Pan's Labyrinth, same deal. Like, they look good. Like there's no reason Marvel has to make a schlocky looking monster and say they're doing it for the purposes of art. It felt like,
it felt like they were making fun of it, not
you aren't really taking this seriously. Like,
yeah.
And if it's gonna be silly, let it be silly the whole time. And maybe it was silly the whole time, and I just didn't get it.
That's what I'm saying. Because when you watch the original trailer, it felt like it was going to be comedic in a sense, or like it was kind of poking fun at the original.
I didn't feel that watching the movie. I didn't feel like it was poking fun.
And that's what I'm saying. Then you're watching it, it's like, oh no, they're doing a style, and this is serious, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, then why didn't you just do a little bit better with the makeup?
Oh, well, then they did the phonograph playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I was just like, what? I don't get it. Like it was weird. I hate
like I get the
part.
transition from black and white is the call back to the Wizard of Oz and all that, but
I mean, beat me over the head with it. I get it, but I mean, it just and the ruby slippers. I mean, I get it. I just don't think it worked. Like in horror, like it just.
It was an odd choice to play that. Like
yeah, again, I loved it till that.
I think that scene would have worked better without the song.
Yes, yeah, I agree. If it had been a different song, I'd have been okay with it. But the fact that you made it somewhere over the rainbow, like it just. That's the problem with using music that's that has so many deep attachments to other pieces of pop culture, is that hey, Wizard of Oz, get it? Black and white to color, Wizard of Oz.
I'm sorry. I also want to point out that's my weird confusion with the time frame, because it was an old phonograph, like an actual old where they had to spend like okay, fine, there's some kind of aesthetic here, but you could have had an MP3
The aesthetic
player.
was that the guy who had died was like really, really old, because the bloodstone lets you live a hell of a lot longer than normal.
Okay, but it doesn't mean you don't buy new technology.
Well, I mean, again,
and like if it's 2025, the phonograph you've had it for hundreds of years, it's not going to work anymore.
But what? No, phonographs still work. But why do they take it with them? Was my question. Like, why is it outside? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me, because the phonograph was outside where Russell and Man Thing. Why did Man? I mean, stuff was. There's weird choices, and I don't think those helped.
Yeah,
like it felt very much like they were trying to let you in on a joke, and I didn't really want a joke. I didn't think I was being told a joke. If you had told me this was like Deadpool, I'd have gone in ready to laugh. But like you got all these people getting eaten by this werewolf.
Yeah.
Sounds like my dog at the moment trying to sound like a werewolf.
You got people being melted by Man Thing.
Yeah, and then it's like somewhere over the rainbow, and Lion-O's running around. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like it lost me at the last third.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. I really like the first act. I really like the second act. I like this like most dangerous game aesthetic they were going for. Like I think that I don't know her real name, BB from Frasier, really does a great job kind of guiding the story along. I don't really know much about Jack Russell as a character, but you're not supposed to. Like it's very much a novella, you know.
Yeah.
And I dig that aspect of it. I just yeah. My wife just texted me. There's this, okay, I'm going to derail this for a second. There's this kid's game called The Man in the Window. Are you guys familiar with it?
No.
So The Man in the Window, this is Halloweenish, so I'll steer into this right now, is this story about a mother rabbit who reads her little son a story. And then he tells his mom that the creature from the story is outside his window. And she's like, no, he's not outside. He goes, no, the man is outside my window. And then she looks outside the window and there he is. And so they have to hide the child in the bathroom from the man at the window, or because he wants to take the children away to go live with him because they're his best friends. And the assumption is he will take them and kill them. So it's like this popular thing with kids. And my kid has seen the YouTube video from this video. It's a game. And the mother rabbit's supposed to hide under the sink, and she's supposed to hide the baby in the bathtub, which is weird to me, but that's how you play the game. So now my wife just texted me that he's in our bed, freaked out about the man in the window. So I thought she was going to be mad because we all watched Werewolf by Night.
Well, that's easy. You just have them play Five Nights at Freddy's. That'll fix that.
I don't know what that is. I'm going to ignore it.
Oh, it's another game, and it freaks kids out who play it.
Well, he won't be freaked out about the man in the window anymore.
He'll be freaked out about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's you're right. It's like, and I kind of wonder, because it's a shorter special, it's an hour long as opposed to a 2-hour movie. Do those weird choices stand out even more?
Yeah, I think they do. Because like we don't have a lot of character development, right?
No, we don't have time for it.
No, and we don't have a lot of like, tangible connections to be made to these people. We just they're just there.
I mean, think about it. They threw Man Thing in with like no explanation.
But I love that. I love they're hunting this monster, and you think they're hunting the werewolf because like it's very clearly this is Jack Russell, and like then it turns out no, it's Man Thing, and I'm like, oh, what a great reveal.
Right. I thought it was going to be like, honestly, when the movie starts and we're seeing it through Jack Russell, like he's the one bringing us into the story. I thought they were going to turn him into a werewolf and hunt him, like, which would have been a much different movie as well. But no, it's like, no, they're hunting Man Thing, and then he's friends with them, which works, But yeah, it which works, and it's all well. Like, it's a good idea. It's a good story. For the most part, it's well executed until you get to those weird choices that they made.
Mm-hmm. John is very disappointed with us.
I just don't think I've ever, like, I thought you were gonna really love this, and I'm just
sorry.
I know. I
also think you oversold it.
No. I don't think John oversold it at all. I wanted to see this. I was excited to see it. I mean, I really was looking forward to it, and a lot of people liked it. For me, I could have forgiven the bad makeup because I like horror movies, and that's fine that there's bad makeup in them. Like, but the Somewhere Over the Rainbow thing really took me out of it to the point where I was like, I don't think I like this. You know,
I have no idea how.
I think if they use the character again, they have to do a CGI werewolf.
I mean, you don't even have to. I've seen good practical effect werewolves. You know, like Dog Soldiers did really good practical effect werewolves. Rick Baker made a career out of doing practical effect werewolves. I just don't know why they chose to do a bad one. Like, I don't get it, and I don't get the choice. This thing, like, you're going to pay all the money to have Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland, like, that's an expensive piece of music, and then you're going to give me Lion-O. Like, it just, I don't know, man. Third act, it really fell apart for me in the third act.
Well, Werewolf by Night so far has 90% certified fresh, and for the
I would certify fresh
the reviews, and then 92 audience.
It's not a bad movie. I would definitely score it fresh. It's going to get a B for me. It's not bad, but it just it just didn't deliver in the third act the way I thought it should have.
All right, well, let's then go around and give it a rating of 1 to 10 on 1 to 10 Bloodstones. And John, you can go first.
I'm giving it a 9. I'm sorry. I really love this. The Somewhere Over the Rainbow did, like, it seemed like a perfect capstone to the whole thing, because, you know, basically you were transitioning from a bunch of people that were moribund in this legacy of hating all monsters to her, where she's now, I got 2 friends that are monsters, and it's the dawn of an entirely new a new chapter in their family history, and I'm sure that she and Jack Russell are going to appear in Marvel movies, probably.
Sure they are. Yeah.
But which would be awesome, you know.
Obviously, they're planning to use them. That's why they said it affects the future of the MCU. So
right. So every part of this was like, there were so many little touches that made me feel like, you know, they really cared about this. And, you know, I didn't mind the monster, like the fact that he wasn't a post 1990s post American werewolf.
Yes, but,
you know,
post 1970s,
I don't know. He did.
But John,
it was fine.
You also like the old Doctor Who.
I also like the old Doctor Who. But if I'm going into watching old Doctor Who, I accept that I'm watching the old Doctor Who. Okay. Like, yeah, I was just disappointed with Marvel's effort on this. I will go with a 7.5.
Okay.
You know, it would have been a 9 for me coming out of if they'd have stuck the landing. But the more I talk about it, the more I find that I really don't like it. Like, that choice of music at the end bothers me because it makes no sense. And the fact that they gave me they chinsed out on the werewolf transformation scene. You're Marvel. 2, the fact that I got a silly looking werewolf. Like, I don't know. Like, I hold Marvel to a higher standard than this. You know?
Okay.
7.5.
I think I fall a little in between, because again, the transformation, to me, they were going for an aesthetic, and I agree with doing the silhouette. Like, that's such a 50s horror trope from a lot of different things, and so I liked that part of it. Right, but when he when he finally get the reveal of the monster, I was like, like, yeah, because it would have been a greatest counterpoint. Like, give us the old style transformation, but then give us a monster that's so amazing looking.
That's what I expected.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give it an 8. You know, I'm gonna give it a solid 8. So it's a passing grade. Like, again, there's no reason not to watch this. It's really good. Yeah, I'm just not gonna sit there and go, this is the greatest thing Marvel has done so far. I'm still gonna put Winter Soldier and Civil War above this.
Oh yeah,
even with the brutal fight scenes.
Brutal scenes are great.
Yeah.
Come on, that's the most brutal thing that Marvel's done. And then the blood spatter onto the camera. Come on.
Cool. No, it's cool.
Wow.
I think they
All
did
these-
it in Doctor Strange.
And I will say, I think John was saying this earlier. I will agree. I think they got away with more because it's black and white.
Yes.
And I don't know if it was done on purpose, but yeah, brilliant. So-
According to the director, if I remember the quote correctly, it was like, we kept asking if we could do something and they kept saying yes.
Yes. No, and you can see that. So I agree. All right. Well, that is Werewolf by Night. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Of course, we spoiled a lot of things, but go check it out. It's free on HBO. I'm sorry, on Disney Plus. There's no reason not to watch it.
Don't watch it on HBO Max. It's horrible there.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing we were supposed to watch, all of us, was, of course, Sandman. The man in the room that is the largest Sandman fan has yet to actually watch an episode. So should we talk about this?
We can talk about it. I'm probably not. Okay, here's where I'm at. I'm not bothered by anything in the Sandman. If I like it, then I have to find 8 more hours of my day to commit to watch the show, and I don't want to.
I think you should watch the pilot, the first episode.
Yeah, I know. I probably should.
And then decide from there. It's well done. It's very well done, but it suffers, in my opinion, from the same thing a lot of recent DC stuff has suffered from. It goes in with this attitude of it's being made for people that are already fans of Sandman. Like, they're not going to try to suck you in and get you to care about this character. It's, you're already a fan. Here's the story you know.
I don't think so. I think they did a much better job on this than any of us could have expected. And they could bring in new people with this.
I've watched 4 episodes and I still find myself wondering, why should I finish watching this?
Mm.
Did you like the comic?
I did not read the comic.
See, the comic's not for everybody. Like,
no, it is not.
And that's the whole thing. And that's why I was like, well, if I watch this and it sucks me in, I will run out and get the comic. This is like, I get the story you're going for. I understand, but it's the whole, it's gods versus gods. It's like this whole otherworldly thing. And I'm like, why should I care? That's my thought. But I'm like watching this, like, why should I care about this character? I don't. Everyone in the show is awful. This feels like a more artsy version of The Boys in some ways. Like, everyone's terrible. And that's part of the story is like, yes, all of humanity is terrible. And I'm like, why the fuck do I want to watch something where it's saying all of humanity is terrible? Like, I don't like that, So it's tough. I'm going to finish watching it, but I've watched 4 episodes so far and it's just like, okay, we'll see.
Part of it is the journey of Dream himself.
Right. And I don't care about Dream. There's nothing in this show that has made me care about him. That's what I'm getting at.
Wow, you guys are really, really hard to satisfy these days. Like,
but I'm saying, give me something to draw me in, to make me so. Okay, so we get to the 4th episode. He's in hell, right? And while he's on his journey to the castle to see Satan, or Lucifer? Sorry, to see Lucifer, he passes by. I can't think of the character's name. The woman who's been in hell for over 1,000 years. Because she betrayed him and it was a love of his life,
Right.
Give me that in the beginning. Give me something to connect me to this character, to want to care about him in the beginning. You waited till the 4th episode to give me something to be like, oh, okay, he does have emotions. But the first 3 episodes is just, I just want my stuff back because I want to rebuild my kingdom. And it's like, okay, good for you. I don't care. Like, there's nothing about this that's sucking me in to make me feel like I have a connection to any of these characters.
I got nothing. I haven't watched the show.
Yeah. What do you, as a fan of the comic, and I know Gaiman can be out there, so that's the thing too. Like,
I read the comics too. I got lucky. Like, I picked up Sandman #1 when it came out. I was right there when that stuff came out, and it's.
I'm curious. I would like to see other people who've never read the comic who watch the show, what their feelings are on it. Like, they're
probably the same feelings you're having right now. It's like asking somebody who hates romance novels to watch a romance movie.
That's the whole thing. I don't hate it, but I don't feel sucked in.
Right.
Like, I'm very indifferent about it. And it's weird, but like, everyone I know has watched the whole thing. So like, let me watch the whole thing and see what happens. Let me see if there's anything that pulls me in. Like Constantine, they don't call her Constantine. They call her Constant. Or no, did I say that right?
Constantine.
Yeah, they call her Constantine, not Constantine, even though it's, because it's the correct British pronunciation. Like again, we only get one episode with her, but I felt like this is a betrayal. This is a betrayal. That's the word I'm looking for, of the character that, and has nothing. Don't twist my words, people. Has nothing to do with the gender swap. It has to do with they just made her out to be another selfish person.
It's a different character than John Constantine. Joanna Constantine's a different character.
She is a different character.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, I didn't think she existed in the comics.
Well, she shared the exact same. I mean, the reason they couldn't use John Constantine was because the rights are owned by somebody else.
Correct, but Joanna Constantine is a character from the game and run of Sandman.
But they gave her the exact same origin story. Like that whole bit with her losing the girl, that's John Constantine. That's how he started. Yeah,
it is. But Joanna Constantine is a character from the Neil Gaiman run.
But they made
right. But they were
that we get over. Like you get they do the aspect with her. I will say this to give you the sympathy because of what happens in the beginning and her losing the little girl and all that. Like yes, okay, you're sucking me into the character. Okay, and then you just made her out to be a horrible person, and I'm like.
But John Constantine's
a horrible person.
I know, but I don't know. It bugged me, the whole thing. Like, so she was living with a woman and doesn't want to be in the relationship anymore, so she just doesn't go back. They're living together. She just doesn't go
John
back.
Constantine.
Yeah,
Hold on. Let me finish my statement. I have to talk about that to explain.
Okay.
And she left Sandman's sand with her. There's a whole thing that goes on with how she ends up with the sand. And but when she left her stuff behind, and that was one of the things. So now she had the sand all this time, and it made her basically sick. Like having it it was such a weird thing. Like kept her from dying, but also was making her sick. So when the Sandman took his sand back, she was now dying. The girl that she left, right?
Right, because it was the only thing keeping her alive, because it was basically like a drug, where she got to see all of her greatest wishes come true in her dreams. But of course, that means she never gets out of bed, never eats or anything. So
now she's yelling at Dreams or Sandman or Mephisto or whatever you want to call him, because he has so many names. Not Mephisto. What's Morpheus?
Morpheus, yeah.
He's yelling at him to save the girl that she left behind. And, like, no, you don't get to do that.
But that's Constantine. He's tragic. He makes mistakes.
But it just came off. It just came off as, and it wouldn't have mattered if the character was male or female. It just came off as petty and small and selfish. And I'm just like, yeah, no, like.
I get where you're coming from, but that's character development is like they're trying to be better people, right? Like, I haven't seen the show, so I can't speak to it, but
it felt like the motivation to be a better person was off. Like it was just more selfishness, because she didn't want the guilt for what was happening to her. So it's like, save her so I don't feel guilty, not save her because it's the right thing to do.
But that's very human.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But that's just an example of how I'm feeling about the show overall. It's a tough watch.
It's not connecting with you. I get it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with Gaiman, though. It's gods and monsters, right? Mm-hmm. And you are on a slow burn for watching Morpheus become a better being, but he's the focus, but you're not in a very nice world. Like the world is evil or hostile, I should say.
Where was the show where it was an angel and a demon and they were friends?
Angels and demons. What?
Good Omens.
Omens.
Yeah.
Angels and Demons was much different.
Yeah, yes. I forgot. Sorry. Yeah.
But Good Omens, again, you're dealing with heaven and hell and gods and whatnot, but it still sucked me in. Like I cared about these characters.
The tone is different too. Good Omens is very tongue in cheek.
Yep.
Yes. I'll agree with that. But again, regardless of the tone, it still sucked. Like I felt a connection to those characters. So you can write a show about otherworldly stuff and have me connect in. Nothing has connected me with these characters yet. It's I don't know.
Because you're dealing with gods and monsters. That's the whole point.
But that also makes it hard for people to make a connection sometimes. Like that's the argument of Superman. Superman is too powerful, ergo I don't feel anything. I don't agree with it, but I know that's an argument.
Right, but he loves and he cares and
Right. Again, like I said, you just haven't felt the connection to the character. I get it.
You haven't seen the one with death yet, have you?
No, I think that's the next episode.
Yeah,
But,
you said that. Watch that one, then decide. That's a pivotal one.
like, the show starts off with him being captured, and he's kept in a prison for 100 years.
I'll say this to you, Dave. Gaiman himself has said it took him a good year to wrap his head around what this book was.
Yeah.
Right? Because when he started doing this, the idea was he was doing his impression of Alan Moore. He was trying to write this book the way Alan Moore would have written it. And then it's not until about a year in that he really figures out what the Sandman is. And I think he feels that is part of the journey of the character, is like, because Neil Gaiman is Morpheus, right? Like, it looks like him, right? So, I mean, I think this is part of the TV show is trying to ape that a little bit, is that it takes time for Morpheus and these characters to figure out what they are. Now, does that make for the best viewing experience for everybody? No, but I mean, most people don't think Preludes and Nocturnes is even close to being the best Sandman story.
Oh, is that what this one's based on?
That's based on the first trade, Preludes and Nocturnes. So, I mean, like, it takes, again, this is my problem, is I know what I'm getting into.
But here's
I don't thing. Like, okay. I mean, like, it's the most
But here's my question then. You're Neil Gaiman and you're now getting to make this show.
Mm-hmm.
And you know this about the story. Now you can tweak the story
for the
show.
But that's the journey of the character. Is like, if you go from A to C, you miss B, you miss a lot of what makes the character.
Yep.
Nothing right now. Nothing makes the character in my mind.
I mean, for you, I mean, like, again, for me, and I felt this in the last one. Like I said, I'm fully admit to being on an island for Werewolf by Night. Maybe I had too high of expectations for it, to the point where I didn't get what I was expecting. And so for me, it's kind of like, which is something that I profess all the time to people not to do on the show. So maybe I'm guilty of stuff that I preach against all the time. But again, like, that's the story. Again, like, this is, at least with Werewolf by Night, it's a novella. It's a one-piece thing. This is like it's supposed to be an ongoing journey. And you have to have a character start from A to get to D, right? Or to Z. You got to get to B, C, D, E, F. You got to get all those points. And if you decide to start from F just out of convenience, you may cheapen the journey. Because again, I respect the fact that they're doing it and again, he'll be the first to tell you, you know what? I didn't have my head figured out around it. But again, there's important foundational stuff into establishing who Morpheus is, who Dream is, to get to the end when he abdicates and Daniel becomes the Lord of the Dreaming. You got to get there. But if you're not enjoying the ride to get there, I understand. Because again, the Sandman is different than 99% of the comic book experiences out there. So I mean, like, I get it. If it's not for you, it's not. And he'll tell people that it's not for everybody.
It's very hard to write a character that isn't human and has no human point of view
and make them understandable and relatable. That's incredibly difficult.
Exactly.
Here's something though, right?
But that's the thing about Morpheus. But that's before you start. Morpheus's journey is from becoming a detached god into becoming almost human.
Yeah.
Right. That is his journey.
Yeah, but again,
or at least empathetic.
They're not
like, Yeah, I mean, like, more empathetic.
But they're not. I get what you're saying.
I get. But if it's not working,
I don't even
for you,
feel like they're
okay.
showing.
Wait, how many episodes?
The journey of them.
How many episodes have you watched?
4.
4.
He's got to watch 5. Number 5 is with death.
And it's hard. It's an ask. It's an ask from people to get to 5 episodes before you feel like. True. I get that. That's an ask.
Because death is, even in the books, death is the character that relates you to the human experience.
For sure. Death is the most appropriately. Death is the most human of the dreaming of the the endless.
The endless, yeah.
But that's my thing too, right? Like, so the show starts off with him being captured for 100 years. Obviously, you know this because you've read the book, and then his stuff, his things, his items get stolen, and now he's on a journey to get his stuff back, right? And he keeps saying, like, when he says it to Constantine, he says it to other people, like, he needs to get his stuff back so that he can rebuild his kingdom, because if people don't dream, then it's going to be bad for you.
It's a MacGuffin.
No, I'm not talking about the MacGuffin part of it to humanity, but yet he sat in a cage for 100 years and didn't try to get out.
He couldn't get out. Yeah.
He was trapped.
He could have talked to the sun and convinced him to get him out, because the sun said he would get him out.
there's stuff there, and the kingdom. Have they got? Okay, I haven't watched this. Do they establish what's going on in the dreaming while Morpheus is gone? Like, do you get the brothers?
Not until he gets out.
Okay.
When he gets out, all you know is he gets out and he comes back and the kingdom's destroyed.
Yeah, because he couldn't get there, right? Like it was a conspiracy,
right,
to keep him trapped.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't.
Okay, they didn't. That has
you
not been
haven't got.
explained
You haven't
at all.
got
there yet. You're not there yet.
There are other players involved.
Yeah,
that
there's more going on.
Like,
and I don't know how close the TV show is going to stay to what it is.
But then again, like,
there's a
hint
vast
at that, because right now, like, that's part of the reason I don't care. It's like, you didn't care for 100 years. You sat in a cage for 100 years. So why should I care about your journey then?
Well, I mean, it wasn't, once he was in there.
They showed he had opportunities to get out, and that's what bothers me about it. If they didn't show that stuff, then
every opportunity he had required him to give up something, and he's still in God mode. He doesn't. All
he has to do is say
like that.
All he has to do is say yeah, and then get out, and then kill the people and leave. Like,
except that their word means something.
Yeah,
they take.
Well,
they,
be
like,
clever enough to use your word.
There's a metaphysical.
Be clever enough to give a word.
Their word.
But that's part of the. Again, that's part of the thing, though. Is the gods aren't as. That's the thing with Gaiman's work in general. Is the gods are more petty. Like, again, like the gods are petty, but they're not all that different than us.
Right.
And Morpheus's biggest thing is his pride, right?
But,
his pride is his undoing. And this whole series of the Sandman is him learning to become more empathetic and to give up that part of that.
They're not
pride.
doing a good job of showing any of the stuff that you're talking about.
I don't think you're there yet. I just don't think you're there yet.
Yeah.
And again, if you're not there, if it's not working for you, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's funny too, because like I've seen a lot of things online where they're not even sure if they're going to get a season 2. I don't know if they're going to. Like, again, I think the only people who love this show are the diehard fans of the comic.
Well, that was the comic too, because the comic had a cult. And I wouldn't say a cult following, but I mean, it's the thing that launched Vertigo. Like, the people that read Sandman were not your typical Wednesday Warriors,
right?
Like the Vertigo base was built on goth kids. So that's the appeal. That's the appeal of Sandman, is like that gothiness.
Yeah.
So on Rotten Tomatoes, again, critics score 87%, score 80%.
You tell me more people like, well, okay, so there you go. That's interesting. The critics scores is a chunk higher than the audience score, which just goes back to what I'm saying, is this has always been.
And the thing is, I don't care what the critics
Yep.
saying, how many people are actually watching it. Like, we don't know the numbers. And how many people are watching the whole thing all the way through? How many people?
I mean, we don't know the numbers, but they're not going to tell you it's a failure. Like,
exactly. But how many people watched the first episode and then were like, I'm out? That's the thing. Like, that's what I'm curious about, or even gave it to the second episode and we're like, yeah, I can't keep watching this,
Well, again, it's like JD saying, this is more, this is not everybody's wheelhouse. It's a different genre. If you're looking for a superhero show, this ain't it. This is a, it's a piece on gods and monsters. It's more metaphysical.
I was going in looking for a piece on gods and monsters, but I wanted something that sucked me in and made me feel attached to the main character. And there's nothing that makes me feel attached to this character.
I mean, I get it. If it's not what you're into, right? And again, did you ever try to read the comic?
No.
But knowing your tastes, I don't think this is something that you would like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, what you dig about comics is not what this series is.
You're looking for a hero or somebody you can put yourself into their shoes.
It's a hero's journey story, but Morpheus is very much an anti-hero.
But again, if they had shown this idea that he had a love at some point early on, like, that would have been something to connect me to him.
But because it's not his love that motivates him. If you bring that out early, that you're telling the viewer that this is what's driving him, and it isn't.
Right. Because again, this is about a god.
Yeah.
Right. An endless, one of the endless.
A god trying to get in touch with humanity.
Yeah.
They're
Exactly what JD's saying. It's not that, and that was the problem with Gaiman, with the problem he had with trying to get his head wrapped around these characters is you have to put yourself in shoes that you have no point of reference for. And you have to try to imagine what is it like to be alive for billions and billions of years, right?
That is an asinine defense.
No, I don't know.
To say you can't criticize it because you have to put your.
I didn't say you couldn't criticize. I just say that's the story. And as JD is saying, if that's not something that you're interested in, you don't.
But that's also fine. The argument that the writer has to put his walk the path of a god, and he can't. And if he thinks he can, then he's too far up his own ass to write something.
Oh, that's not what anyone that no one said that. No. Like this is Gaiman's journey as a creator, right? This is like, it's very,
yeah, but he came out and said something about like, you shouldn't criticize this. It was weird.
No, he was saying you shouldn't. He's kind of had it with people saying we don't want a woke version of the Sandman. That's what he's taking.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I would not call this a woke version of anything.
But I mean, because there's black people in it, and that's bad. You know, so people are getting upset about that. I mean, that's what it is. They made Death black, so people are like all up in arms, like there's androgynous people in here. It's like, well, clearly you didn't ever read the book, any of Neil Gaiman's work at all. So I mean, like, and that's where he's taken it. Like Neil Gaiman has zero problem if you criticize his work. Like this is a dude who's got like Teflon skin when it comes to criticism.
Okay.
Like, and he legit criticism rolls off his back. Like he's very, very good with critics usually. Like just letting people go, yeah, it's fine. You have your own thoughts. And like, but when it comes to the only thing that's been upset with him is people who criticize it as, you know, wokist, you know, or like something. All right. Like that's what he's getting angry. It's because people who say, oh, they made Sandman woke. And he's like, because it makes him mad because it means you never read any of his stuff.
Okay. I will say this though. It drives me nuts because it feels like, okay, so he didn't do what normally we get anymore, where it's like, oh, well, you don't like this because you're sexist, or you don't like this because you're racist. He did the opposite. He's like, you don't like this because you didn't read the comic. So
because you're trying to attach those kind of things to his work.
Yeah.
Like they're saying you sold, because people are saying you sold out to the woke mob, and he's like, I am the woke mob. Like, and he is. I mean, that's Neil Gaiman is the king of goth, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's just been him for 50 years.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to disagree with that. So, yeah, so I will keep watching it. I will let you know.
It's like people saying Alan Moore's only hit it for the money.
To be fair, Dave, you stopped at the exact wrong episode. Like, episode 5 is where things really get going.
But it's a big ask. Ask me to watch 5 episodes to feel an attachment to a show.
I understand. Yes, that's fine.
Like
it is why I hate the Ultimate Spider-Man book. Like, you're going to take 3 episodes or 3 issues, 6 issues before he finally becomes Spider-Man and puts the costume on. Like, that's a big ask. And I
thought it was great. I think Brian Bendis' Ultimate Spider-Man is probably the best Spider-Man book ever written.
Oh, you're wrong.
You know, that's how I feel about that. No, I love that series. Like, again, I think that he told a different story. Could you have done what Stan Lee did in like 12 pages? Sure. That's not what Bendis and company. And again, Bendis, he can beat out.
I'm not asking you to do 12 pages, but 6 issues is too much.
It didn't. I mean, like, you got to keep in mind those things are written for trade, right? They wanted you to get.
Well, that's just stupid.
But that's the meat. That's the marketplace. Stuff, especially in that.
But then you're not being an artist. You're a slave to the format to make money.
Everyone's a slave. Everyone's a slave to the format of comic books. Comic books have a format. You don't get
still be artistic and not be a slave.
No, you can't be. That's what he was. Like, you have to tell like Stan Lee is a slave to the format of 1961 comics.
Well, he created the format.
We didn't create the format, but that was the format of the book.
Yeah, well, I mean, he made it
to create. Yeah, because that's not the only story that was in Amazing Fantasy 15. Like, that's what they were. You can't sit there and go, well, the 32 page counts. Well, I need 33 to tell this story. Well, cut a page. Like, everyone's a slave to the medium that they're writing in. And they tell you this when you're writing. It's like, if you can't get your story into the parameters that we want, we will go somewhere else. And Bill Jemis's thing at Marvel was, we are writing to trades.
Yeah,
and that's what they were doing in the early 2000s. Like, that's only really now started to change again, right? Everything was written in 6-issue blocks. Act 1 is book 2 and 1 and 2. Act 2 is book 2, 3 and 4. Act 3 is book 5 and 6. Right? That's what they were. That's what they wanted them to be. Like, and you could not be a trade. Like, you could just not be a guy who likes trades. But I mean, and again, Bendis' stuff, I will have said this for a decade plus. His stuff reads better in trade than it does month to month.
Yeah. So the thing is, Dave, to boil it down, you can like it or not like it, because that's okay. Because there are things that we're going to like and you're not going to like, and there's things that you're going to like and we're not going to like.
Correct.
But that doesn't make it bad.
No, again, I broke John's heart tonight. I hate Iron Man 3. It's fucking shit.
It is crap. But yeah. And JD did break my heart. But he's also killed me, so that's fine.
Oh, you're gonna get shotgun blasts and like monsters and
I can't.
This one's special.
All right. Well, let's move
Hey,
on. We've got
any of our Geek World All-Star friends looking for a guest, I'm pushing a Ware, so hit me up.
I'm sure So Wizard will hit you up. So we got 2 more interviews real quick from my New York Comic-Con journey. The first one, so there's a channel on MeTV. There's a channel called MeTV, and they have a morning show, Saturday morning cartoons, just like when we were growing up, called Tune In With Me. The hosts of the show is Bill Field and Kevin Fleming. Kevin Fleming is the voice of Toonie the Tuna, and they invited me to do an interview with them, and I did it, and they are, I gotta say, it was one of the best interviews I've done in a while. They were great. They were funny. Bill Leff is worked in radio for 20 years before he started doing this, so he knew what to do, right? Like, he gets it. So it was a great interview, but I'm not going to build it up anymore. Take it away, guys. Here I am from New York Comic-Con. All right, we are now here at the MeTV booth with Bill Leff and Kevin Fleming, hosts of Tune In With Me on MeTV. How are you guys doing?
Couldn't be better.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks, buddy.
And you're the voice of Toonie the Tuna.
That's true. I'm very much the voice of Toonie the Tuna. How you doing, pal?
So, I got my first question.
Wait, I just realized now that you were the voice of
You didn't know that?
No, we've been working together for years. I just figured that out.
Well, Bill, I was under the booth, so you couldn't see me too well.
What is it? This is amazing to me.
Yeah, Bill's like a toddler in that way. If it's not in front of him and he can't see it, like if he puts his hands over his eyes, he thinks you've disappeared.
Right. Where does everybody keep going?
Yeah.
Could you sign this for me?
Of course. Later. Let's get this podcast going first.
Love it. All right, okay. So my first question I've been asking everyone, how are you guys enjoying the concert?
I love it. It's great. It's so amazing to see everybody with such energy, and especially after a few years of not having something like this. It's so great just to be able to interact with people who like the show, who like cartoons, who like comic books. It's just really amazing to have everyone come together.
I'm amazed at how appreciative the people are. I had so many people yesterday come up and go, you came on at such a great time, because we were one of the only shows shooting during the pandemic,
yes.
You know? And people said it was a very difficult time for me, and I knew that every morning you guys would be there for me, and I so appreciate it, and I appreciate them appreciating it. It was just such a nice thing to hear.
That must be amazing.
Yeah.
So that actually leads me to one of the first questions I have for you guys. Of course, we live in 2022 in cancel culture.
Yeah.
A lot of people get offended at the older cartoons.
Sure.
How do you guys deal with that?
Wow. Well, I mean, I think that, of course, these cartoons are so beloved, right? I mean, you're talking about the classic cartoons, and to a certain degree, there is an element of I don't want to say that there's an element of forgiveness, but you do realize that with time, cultures change, attitudes change, society changes. But when these were done years ago, unfortunately, things weren't where they are now. But you can't, it's hard to get upset. You just have to thread the needle. You have to know what would be offensive, or hope to know what's offensive. Try to avoid those as best you can. But you're just going to have to step back and say, here, this is what the art is. We're just presenting it. We're not necessarily, we're just allowing you to see it. So it's a hard needle to thread, that's for sure.
We get feedback either way. If we make any edits, if there's a scene or a sequence that's offensive, and we cut it out, we hear from people saying, it was made in 1942, you can't change it, we need to see it as it was intended. But if we don't take it out, then people say, hey, well, you have to take that out, you can't show that. So, we try to toe the line, we try to find some balance.
Yeah, unfortunately that's the world we live in, right? Yeah. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You worked in radio for
20 years.
20 years, yeah. Do you think that the day of the shock jock is over, or?
Yes and no. There will still be people who find ways to shock their audience.
Yeah.
There's always some envelope that can be pushed just a little bit further if you try to. But yeah, there was a time where every city, I play a character on the show named Simon Shock, who's based on all those guys.
Yes.
Well, all he wants to do isn't necessarily to entertain, but to shock you, And that's based on guys that I've worked with or against over the years.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see where things have gone.
Okay. So one
question that we like to ask our guests. We end the show by saying, "Don't let your paper fall in the door," which has come to mean, "Don't let your shortcomings or your foibles get in the way of reaching your goals."
Yeah.
What's something that you've overcome in your life to help you get to your goals?
Well, if you asking Toonie to tune what his shortcomings are, it's a short list. 0 things, no notes, 100% perfect. But if you're certainly asking me, I mean, that's an interesting question. I think knowing and believing who you are and what you enjoy, and knowing that whatever it is that is near to you or interesting to you, to put it out there if you want to put it out there, but don't necessarily look at, I want to try to chase an audience, I want to try to chase numbers, I want to just do something that you're passionate about, that you love, and know that it will find an audience. So that was something in terms of a career, when you stop kind of chasing what the trend is, what you think people want, and just give people what you want to say.
Right. For me, trying to be realistic through my life, if you looked at the odds of the things I've been able to pull off, everything from doing stand-up for years to radio to movies and now television, the odds are stacked against you, against anybody. You know, it's 1,000,000 to 1 shot to do things like that. And I was very fortunate to have first parents and a family that supported me and said, no, go for it. You want to do this. It's your dream. You can't. And then a wife and 2 daughters who felt the same way and said, don't ever look back. You got to go forward. You want to dream this. You got to do it, you know? So I've been very fortunate in that I never played the numbers game. I played everybody wants me to try for it. Let's try for it.
Cool. So what is it about classic cartoons that you guys love?
Oh, I mean, the comedy, right? I mean, we talk about in a comedic scene, like a sketch, you talk about having like a game, which is a repeatable activity that just heightens, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So, like, there's an example from a cartoon that I love. It's a Bugs Bunny cartoon called Hillbilly Air, where he does a square dancing routine with two, this isn't correct, with two Southern gentlemen. I'll use the politically correct term.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Yes.
That was so well said.
And just the simple, repetitive, physical nature, where the game is that no matter what he says, well, he's the square dancing caller, we have to listen to him. And so they put themselves in these positions where they just beat the tar out of each other, beat the hell out of each other. And it's so fun to watch. And you just sit there and laugh and you get lost. So from a comedic standpoint, I love watching the concept of, here's the premise, here's the game of the scene, and we're just going to keep doing that repetitive activity again and again and again, getting more and more heightened with danger, with physicality, and then the resolve at the end, is that's the fun about cartoons. There's no consequence, and yet you can continue through whatever it is you want to do.
When I was growing up, I had access to current cartoons, so this would be the late 60s, early 70s, but then I also had access to the classic cartoons like we're showing now. And with all due respect to who were the Ghost Chasers and the people who put together, the animation wasn't fantastic, TV was just finding cheap ways to keep their Saturday mornings alive, so they were producing cartoons that weren't great. We remember some of them fondly, but they weren't magnificent to watch. The older stuff, on the other hand, I would be late for school because I'd be in my room getting ready for school, and a cartoon would come on, a Max Fleischer Popeye cartoon, and I'd say, it's more important for me to stay home and watch this than go to class. So I would do that every once in a while, and it was just the magic of how much stuff was animated at once. I mean, they were just loading up every frame with so much to see, and it was funny to watch, it was artistic to watch. I was very fortunate, and now we have a chance to share that with a whole other generation, so I feel very lucky.
And you mentioned Max Fleischer, you're involved with the restoration project?
Yeah, there's a panel that we're doing today. We did one in San Diego at their Comic-Con. We're doing one today. And they have put together this team of people to get the old cartoons and spruce them up. And when you see them side by side like we show them, you can't believe how much... I mean, you would assume they'd be better, but when you see it live, when you see the old version and the new, it's just so bright and cheery and fun to watch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And is that something that's coming out on Blu-ray or...?
Well, I know it'll be available on our show as they do this. We're going to show the newer prints, but I'm guessing there's got to be a Blu-ray component to it. I would just imagine there'd have to be.
And then the question we normally like to wrap up on is, how do you measure success?
It depends on how many pieces of fan art I get and how many donuts I often consume. That's my marker of success. I think, of course, it's subjective, right? But to each his own. I think if you are happy doing what you do, if you are happy with the friends you have, the family that you have, and it's, it's not everything is going to be rosy, but if you come out at the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, and you look back and you're like, wow, there were some really fun moments. You think that, you've done a great job, and if you've helped people along the way and made people laugh, and you can do that, and made people feel good, I think then, ultimately that's a successful person, a successful day, year, month, whatever.
Kevin nailed it. I can't tell you how much fun we have doing the show, from writers' concept meetings where we're coming up with ideas for the show, to the actual filming of the show, to then watching the finished product. There's a lot of laughs and smiles, and
provided mostly by me. Thank you very much, Toonie the Tuna.
But I've had in almost 2 years of work, where I've had 3 of them.
You got 2 or 3, sure, yeah. We also want to make sure Bill is engaged,
Right.
Like a toddler, we have some keys that we jangle in front of him.
Yeah, I am engaged, and my wife is furious about it, by the way. She's very angry about it. But that's it. What Kevin said is we're smiling, we're laughing, and we're doing a job that I think most people would just say, is that really a job? We looked out,
Including the bosses.
Yeah.
They're like, you want to get paid for this? This isn't really a job. You guys are just goofing around up there showing tattoos. You don't expect payment, do you?
Cool.
All right, and so where can we find you guys online?
Bill,
VTV.com is your best bet, and we're on at 6 a.m. in some cities, 7 a.m. in other cities, so it depends. And consult your local listings, the time and place.
Yeah, we got
7 Eastern, 6 Central is the way to remember it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and then, go to VTV.com. We're on social media, at Tune In With Me TV. We got Facebook, TikTok, personally. It's Insta, of course, Insta. I can't forget Insta.
And if they
Can we get this stranger out of the booth, please? I don't know who this gentleman is yelling at me.
If they can't find us, Kevin and I will come to your homes and do it live. We've done that in the past. We're not afraid to do that again.
Do you have any personal stuff that you give out, like Instagram stuff?
I've been giving out toasters and blenders. People love appliances.
Your Twitter handle.
Oh, I don't have a Twitter handle. I have a CB handle.
Okay, that's just
Billy the Kid 63 if people want to reach me on the CB radio.
Kev J. Fleming at Twitter. Hashtag blessed.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Here I go again on my own.
All right. Thanks for that, guys. Of course,
the only road I've ever known.
Nice.
The other interview that I got from the convention, I got other interviews that are coming still. Of course, I can't go to New York Comic Con without talking to the good friend of the show, Rich Douek. And of course, he was come along with Alex Cormack, and they talked about their upcoming book, Breath of Shadows. Those who don't know, the two of them did
Road of Bones,
Sea of
Sorrows,
and Sea of Sorrows together. So the first one takes place in the desert. Second one takes place in the water. Oh, Tundra, that's right. The first one takes place in Tundra. The second one takes place in the water. So, of course, this one takes place in the jungle. And that was a joke between them, and let them explain. So, without further ado, sorry, I'm laughing at my own joke. Without further ado, here is Rich and Alex.
All right. We're here once again at the IDW Cafe in the middle of New York Comic Con. Where this time we're joined by Rich Douek and Alex Cormack. How are you guys doing?
Good. How you doing?
I guess I'll start off with, I know you guys been around for a while. You've been to many in New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
What do you think of the show this year? Does it feel like we're back or what?
I feel like we're like 80% back. It's like, there's a lot of people here, and I think like the vibe is back, but it's like there's a lot of like publishers that are still missing. Like there's no I don't see there's no Dark Horse booth, there's no Image booth,
there's no DC booth.
DC booth, which I can understand, but it's also just like it's just always nice when there's like more comic stuff going on. So
yeah, definitely more than last year. It looks like because last year it felt like just a quarter of the stuff was here, and it felt weird last year. As long as even though it was crowded, there's a lot of people here and all that stuff, but it still had felt like a ghost town almost. But
When I could walk around the floor easily, it was like, what's going
exactly,
on?
right. Like, there wasn't a line in the bathroom. Like, wait, what is this? This is New York.
I mean, I will say, I think, like, Artist Alley is back. Like, down at Artist Alley, there's, like, a ton of people, and, like, that's, like, feels like it used to be. It's just, like, the main floor is, like, a little, like, weird. It feels like there's, like, missing people.
All right, so originally we were supposed to talk about, we'll talk about Breath of Shadows, because we were supposed to talk about Sea of Sorrows, but Rich and I have talked about Sea of Sorrows quite a few times. So I'm going to ask, what is the elevator pitch for Breath of Shadows?
What is the elevator pitch?
So Breath of Shadows, it takes place in the 1960s, and it's a story of a rock star who's struggling with heroin addiction, and he sort of reads about this supposed miracle cure drug that you can get in
buried in the jungles,
in the jungles of like southern Mexico and like the Yucatan, around where the Maya, like it's some connections to like the ancient Maya. So he goes down and kind of organizes an expedition to like go into the jungle to try to find this drug. And since he's a rock star and a heroin addict, just like he's a fucking mess. The expedition's a mess. And they run into a lot of trouble, as you'd expect in one of our books.
Right, you get like these archaeologists are like, well, listen, they're funding it. This guy's a pain in the neck. I don't even want him here, but they're paying the bills. All right, let's just lug these dopes along and just go through this jungle. And it's gonna be nuts. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. It's a better book than The Pitch.
This is the third book you guys have worked on together?
Yeah. It's the third one. The first one was Road of Bones, and then we did Sea of Sorrows, and now Breath of Shadows, and they kind of form. Should I stop?
Whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that Whatnot?
All right, download the Whatnot app right now, everyone. I'm going to cut this out so you won't hear this.
Okay. So the first book we worked on was Road of Bones.
Yes.
Then we followed that up with Sea of Sorrows. Now we're doing Breath of Shadows, and they kind of form like a little thematic trilogy. Like they're all kind of dealing with coming at the similar themes from like different angles. So,
how would you describe your guys' working relationship?
Oh God, it's horrible. It's horrible. You won't leave me alone.
A slave driver.
Yeah, I mean, every single thing's gonna be changed. It's been great. It's been great. I mean, we were already friends before we even got started.
Yeah.
And he writes good scripts, so it's not hard work for me. It's just
he draws good stuff.
Just jumps right in. Like, all right,
but I mean, I think it's developed over like the books we've been doing. Like, I think like I think Road of Bones was like it was not a hard book for us to work on, but I think we kind of like learned a little bit about working with each other and like what Alex likes to draw.
Yeah.
Like,
it's one thing to be friends, it's another thing to be working. That type of thing. But,
so I think like Sea of Sorrows went a little bit smoother than that.
Yeah.
And this one we're just
this
kind
one's
of
been like
through.
this has been cake.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so Road of Bones is like a stark wasteland.
Yep.
Sea of Sorrows is the ocean.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is in a jungle, right?
Right.
So there's a lot more to draw this time?
Well, this was this is the old story that when we did Road of Bones, I said, because I grew up in New England and Massachusetts, and I was like, listen, my entire life, it's most of the time it's snow there, so I always wanted to draw something of snow. At the same time, we always go to Cape Cod, and I always wanted to draw something in the ocean. And I just thought the jungle was interesting, so I said, or something in the jungle. So I always wanted to draw something in the snow and the ocean and the jungle. Which is like, all right, I'll figure something out.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Match made in heaven.
Yep.
Was there anything? Because I love your stuff, Rich. I mean, we've known each other for a while. Was there anything personal in this story and difficult to write?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a heroin addict, but
But you play one on TV?
No. I mean, I've like kind of struggled with like sort of like behaviors that I feel are like not always in my control and stuff like that. And I think that was like, maybe the most kind of like difficult mindset to get into, but I think it was like worth it. Like, really kind of like getting into like the character Jimmy Meadows, like his head, and his mind state, which is like really fragile at times. You know, I think when you're writing it, like you don't want to like sort of like go too deep of a dive, but it was like, you know, certain parts are like a little harrowing, but they're also kind of fun because you're getting to like put them on paper and not bounce around your head. So.
Right. So, and what about his pitch? This idea appealed to you to do it?
For this one, well, one, I was just excited to draw a jungle. But then also, I mean, I feel like everybody else, I was a huge fan of like that era of rock music.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, it's just like, oh, I know I'm going to base this guy off this guy, and this guy. Like, each member of the band is based on another musician.
Okay.
And I had in my head. Basically making like a super group. And, but yeah, so I was like, all right, I kind of know this world just from growing up and researching, just being a music fan, a rock fan. And, but now they take those type of guys and throw them in like a crazy situation like the jungle, and where like, you know, just a mosquito won't kill you, you know?
Yeah.
And like, sure, you're hooked on heroin, but, you know, that python doesn't care about that. They're just hungry. And, so I mean, I just thought like just that alone, I'm like, all right, I'm game. Let's. These are two great tastes that taste great together.
And I gotta say, like the kind of music research for this, where it was just like I just like I made like a huge like '60s psychedelic playlist, and, like that was just playing like when I was like working on the script. So it was a lot of fun to listen to.
So Rich has answered this question before.
All right.
So I'm going to ask you. You can answer it again if you want.
Right.
But again, since this is a book about addiction and overcoming that, we usually end the podcast by saying, "Don't let your cape go out in the door," which has grown to mean, "Don't let your shortcomings or foibles keep you from achieving your goals."
Sure. Yeah.
So what's something you've overcome in your life to achieve your goals?
School. I was terrible at school. I was always drawing the darn class and all that. I don't know if that counts, but it's the first thing I thought of. But yeah, no, I mean, I never got addicted to drugs or anything like that. Luckily, I never got drunk or anything like that. Not yet. See how this book goes, but yeah, I mean, listen, you know, for anybody out there like with those situations, you know, don't let that stop you. Don't let sure that happened, but that's not your whole life,
right?
You know, see what happens next week is something that's gonna be completely different. You know, it's a Tony Robbins here. Pick yourself up, folks. Dust yourself off. You totally ruined it. Get a job, you bumps. Yeah, edit that out. That's terrible.
Okay. How about you? You want to add anything?
I just kind of don't remember what I said last time, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but I think I just overcame a lot of like, you know, I guess self-doubt, or like maybe feeling like, you know, I didn't really have anything like interesting or good to say. In terms of like writing, it's like, well, like, you know, who would ever want to read something that I wrote? Like, you know, it definitely felt that like starting out, but you know, I think the more I did, the more confident I got in like my own skills and like saying, like deciding what I wanted to say, and you know, getting to the place where I felt like I could say it. So I'd say that.
So this is a question we ask a lot, and I kind of want to get your take on this. Obviously, comics, it's not the easiest thing to get started in, right? Like, especially if you want to write something, you got to find an artist you can work with.
Oh my god, for writers, I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's insane. It's just, here's something I wrote. Please don't screw it up.
So the kid who's sitting in the back of the class drawing, or the kid who's daydreaming about stories, what advice would you give to them that wants to get started in this business?
To get started?
Yeah.
Do you want to start, or?
Okay, well, I'll say, like, if you're a writer, there's, like, a couple of things you have to keep in mind is that, like, there is, like, you can either find an artist. I recommend trying to find another artist who's, like, who's just starting out themselves and wants to, like, build a portfolio of work. And then hopefully you can, like, work with them where, like, you guys are, like, together. And maybe you're not like, I think, you know, you should always pay your artists as much as you can. But it's like, if you can find somebody who's just starting out, maybe it'll make it like more doable on your end. And then you guys can like work together. And then the other thing I would say is start small. Like, just do like a 5-page story, a 10-page story, whatever it is, for a couple of reasons. Number one is, again, the financial stuff, but number two is that, like, if you're just starting, you're going to like learn a lot as you do it. And if you have this kind of like dream project of yours that you want to be like amazing, it's like if you put some practice in doing smaller stuff, your dream project would be that much better when you do get around to it. Like, so it's kind of weird to say like, don't write the thing that you most want to write, but it's almost like just sort of like just put it on the shelf for a minute and like try some other stuff, just so you can kind of get a feel for how to the best things to do and how to write well and how to get your ideas across, and then it'll just make your kind of like dream project like that much stronger when you do tackle it.
All right, so this is what you got to do if you want to be an artist in this business. All right, this is exactly what you want to do.
Okay.
All right, so first off, you're starting off with nothing. Right. So what you want to do is, because if you jump on the book right away, sure, you know how to draw that book, but if you want to get more jobs, you got to really show off what kind of range you got. So start thinking about like making a portfolio, and what you want to do is think of like, all right, I'm going to draw a page of a book. All right, I'm not going to think of like a scene. I'm going to draw that one page. Doesn't have to be. So, but yeah, you want to just draw one page, so that way you can draw something sci-fi, you can draw something horror, you can draw a superhero. And that way you get a bunch of stuff, there's some storytelling in there, you go and show that off to writers. Also look out for anthology. Anthologies are always looking for artists and writers. Yeah. And, I mean, that's a great, that's how I got started. I did like, a bunch of anthologies before I got an actual real gig. So, or like doing an actual book.
Right.
But that's what you got to do. Also, don't be afraid. Like, it doesn't have to all come from your head. Don't worry about that. Feel free to look in the mirror, look at faces you can make. Take a camera. Set up, if you got a laptop, you got a photo booth on there. Take some photos of yourself in the room. Like, if you're having trouble with the drawing, like, there's ways to fix it, Like, just look in the mirror. But that's what you got to do if you got to be an artist, and I look forward to you all taking my job.
All right, there might be people waiting. So, the question that we normally wrap up on is, this: how do you measure success?
Jet skis.
Simple man, Alex Cormack.
Yeah. Jet skis and riding around with my fur coats. No, I mean, the fact that I'm doing this is something. This is my full-time job, and I'm able to pay the bills. I can feed my family. That alone is success. I'm doing what I want to be doing. So, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I can maintain this, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I hit a kind of like a milestone earlier this year, where it's like I have like a bookshelf in my house, and I finally have a full shelf of all stuff that I wrote or contributed to. Like, I have like anthologies in there that I have a story in. So that was a really good feeling. That made me feel pretty successful. That like I just sort of have like an entire shelf of stuff that with my name on it. But that's not the only measure of success. But that was a pretty cool one.
So, okay, real quick then, where can people find you guys online?
I'm on Twitter at AlexCormack4. On Instagram, it's, again, just my name, Alex Cormack Illustrator. Same deal with, Facebook or whatever. Just Google my name, Alex Cormack. It's going to come up somewhere.
Yes.
It's 2022. You guys know what you're doing.
Yeah, and, I'm at R Douek on Twitter and also Instagram. I have a website, which is rdouek.com, that I have a newsletter on that you can sign up for, and I send that out fairly regularly with like news and updates and stuff.
And I guess I should have asked Breath of Shadows. When's that? Is it out now?
No, it's out in February.
February, all right. And that's going to be in the previews?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be all over the place,
All right. Cool. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for that, guys. Speaking of the interviews that I got from New York Comic Con, there will be a bonus episode out this week. I did a press room for Batman. You mentioned it a couple times, John, in this episode, Batman and Superman, Battle of the Super Sons.
Mm-hmm.
So I got invited to a press room. I interviewed a good amount of the cast, the writer and the director of it. I was looking at it today. It's 45 minutes long. It'll probably be cleaned up a little bit, and I'm gonna release it as a separate episode. So,
wow, cool.
The what's his name? The kid from Shazam, not the kid who plays Billy Baxton, the friend. JD, what's the?
I don't remember.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
He's the voice of Jonathan Kent in this cartoon, and this is what I'm saying. And I want everyone to make sure this will probably out Friday. Make sure you go and listen. He is like a huge DC fanboy. Like, it was so refreshing to talk to someone who's doing this stuff, who loves what he's doing.
You're talking Jack Dylan Grazer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He loves DC Comics. He loves all the characters, all the stories. And it was surprising who he said he always wants to play. But I'm not going to tell you. That was my last question to him. Who did you always want to play in DC? You'll have to listen to it to get the answer. So that's it, guys. That is the show for this. So let's go around. Do you have any recommendations, or what did you learn on the podcast?
I learned we have very different views on things, and that's okay.
Yeah, which is normally we agree at least partially on most things, but wow, this time around, like, everything was different.
It's good to mix it up a little.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that the guy who's the biggest fan of the book hasn't watched the show yet. The guy who's never read the book is trying to figure out, why am I watching this? And the guy who's read it loves the show. And I kind of think, JD, you probably are going to like the show.
I probably will. I'm just afraid to sit and commit. Like I said, my time is so...
Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's well written, well produced. Special effects are great.
Some people have, like, phobias and like, sometimes it's hard for me to sit down and start something like that too. And JD is really busy these days. So we give him some
He's
credit.
busy killing you, we know.
Not just killing me. He's teaching the next generation.
4 different jobs at the high school, 5 different jobs at the high school. Like, it's been a crazy 2 months.
Yeah, he's got a whole bunch of kids. He's got to press into service for nothing, and
we'll give them an A. That's what drives them. And I gave one girl.
So he's bribing kids too, right? I mean, there you go. He's very busy.
So I gave a girl a B, and she was so mad at me.
Oh well, tell her to try harder next time.
She did.
All right,
and she did. To be fair.
Do you have any recommendations for the audience?
Yes, please back the Please back the Hulk Hollow Kickstarter campaign. My first hardcover book. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The story behind the book is really means a lot to me. Maybe I'll push the story next week on the show and tell you guys kind of the story behind the story of why I wrote this book. And it just means a lot to me. It's about a group of kids trapped in a commercial haunted house, and they're on the run from a band of renegade redneck djinn that are dressed up and doing the haunting at this haunted house, and they don't know who's working for the haunted house to scare people and who's trying to kill them around every corner.
All right.
Yeah, very proud of this. If you like Stranger Things, you'll love this book.
John?
I'm at a loss for what to like. My week has been practically devoid of any entertainment this week.
Busy week of work? That's very unlike you.
Yeah, well,
Well, usually you're watching a bunch of anime, or you got some movie or something. Like,
no, I've been busy. I've been busy between. Well, I'm doing the work of 3 different people at work, plus managing the team because they can't find a manager for my team, and then I'm teaching my brother how to do Minecraft coding, and I've got a whole bunch of other stuff, and then I'm preparing for Halloween. So I had to go out and buy more, enough candy for 4 houses, all full size, by the way, because I'm not a monster. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, Spy X Family or Spy Family, whichever way because apparently there's a big fight on how you pronounce the title. Just started up again for the 2nd season, and they just got a puppy, and of course the puppy happens to be a brilliant experiment, with a high IQ and all that. So yeah, Spy X Family would be a good one to start with. That'll be my recommendation for this. Spy X Family is probably one of the best animes out there. It is hysterical. Do you know? Did I? You don't remember? You don't remember what I mentioned? It's the best spy in this country, right? Needs to get into this school in order to spy on one of the high officials of the other country. So in order to do that, he goes and finds a wife. He just happens to find a woman to play his wife, who happens to be one of the greatest assassins ever to be around. When he goes to find a kid, he goes to some random orphanage, just happens to pick up a science experiment, a little girl who's telepathic, and she's the Anya, and she's the only one who knows all of everybody's identities because she's reading their minds and saying, "Oh my God, mommy's an assassin. Oh my God, daddy's a spy." And it's just hysterical. It is funny as hell.
Okay.
So there you go. There's my
All right.
recommendation.
Well, I learned that yes, we all have very different tastes.
But we can all agree that JD's books are great.
And that
No, you can't. Okay.
No, I'm on board with that.
We'll agree with that. We'll agree with that. And that JD needs to at least watch one episode of Sandman.
I know.
Of course, I will recommend that you go to superherospike.speak. superheroespeak.com. You can find the podcast every week. Links to all our social media at the top of the page. Rants and reviews by your good friend Dave. And we did find someone to take over the comic book review spot.
How are the reviews? Have you read any of the new ones yet?
I'm not going to say who it is until he turns in the first review.
Oh, I thought we did already.
No. We gave him an IDW book to review, and hopefully that comes in soon.
Hopefully,
the My Little Ponies versus Transformers.
No, Crashing.
The fact that that's a real book is just amazing to me.
I love life,
and I have a feeling I know what I'm actually going to recommend. That is to make sure you go and see Black Adam.
Oh yeah,
because I am pretty sure that is what we're reviewing next week on the show. There's no getting away from it.
Can't wait. I'm excited. Yeah. I literally cannot wait for this.
It's actually
pumped.
This weekend is actually coming up as my 1 year anniversary with my girlfriend. And so we'll recreate our first date, which we can't go see Maximum Carnage in the theater.
I thought you were going to say Maximum Overdrive. I was like, you saw that with her?
No, we saw a comic book movie. So this is perfect. We'll go see Black Adam. We'll go to dinner and then go see Black Adam. So yes.
Cool.
The return of Henry Cavill as Superman. We can't wait.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Unconfirmed.
I've seen the leaked footage. It exists.
Well,
yeah,
I bet you've seen leaked footage.
Well, on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. Don't let your cake caught in the door. Have a good week.